Earth, Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto link and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brex, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Near the One, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
You either use it or you lose it. It's like muscles. If you don't use your muscles, if you don't work out, they're going to atrophy. You're going to literally lose them.
Same thing goes for your brain.
Hey.
That, my friends, is
What's
how
going on?
rights are like muscles.
Good afternoon.
Y'all came at a perfect time.
Sorry. What's happening? Anybody reading me?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Yeah, no, you're tracking. We're tracking you, sunshine.
We've never had a problem hearing you, Neil.
Sunshine. I'm on the Sunrise Highway. Why do they call it Sunrise anyway?
Man, y'all are cruel, though, because I can't turn him down.
That's a sun
Question
fade.
is, what type of background noise will Neil have today?
It's
Buffalo.
himself.
This
Neil's
is
back. Hang on. Neil's.
Is that Neil?
No, I'm sure that was a trick.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah,
They asked
seriously.
what kind of background noise.
Oh, that was you.
Yeah, it was rhetorical.
Sounded like a motorcycle. What's a rhetorical?
Yeah, motorcycle. My freaking car.
You
Ridiculous.
your car still sound like a motorcycle, Neil. What's going on?
Well, it sounded good for maybe 8-9 months until shit breaks down again. Next Nathan, he knows all about it. He's going through it himself.
Hey, Nathan knows everything about entropy.
Buy a Honda. It's way easier to work on. Parts are cheaper, and the aftermarket is brilliant. So you could get upgraded parts as things break and have it last longer.
Yeah, a friend of mine has a Honda generator, a Honda lawnmower, and a Honda car, and he exchanges parts all the time. And if you believe that,
I don't know about too many British cars that are fantastic. However, I've owned Japanese, I've owned American. All the people that own certain European cars have always complained and want me to work on them. And I'd rather not.
well, Nathan, it's time for you to pipe up for the country.
What? We always made crap cars here.
Yeah.
I remember.
There's an
I
old
remember
joke.
the
If there
biggest
ain't no
problem
oil
was-
under them, there ain't no oil in them. Ain't that right, Nathan?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, British cars were just as bad as American cars. About the same sort of standard. We still make cars here, but obviously not for British-owned companies. So there's plenty of manufacturing for cars in Britain, but the standard is the same as your guy's car if you buy a Ford, or in many instances if you buy a Merc. So a lot of the Mercs are made over there, like actually in the States,
Right.
and they're shite because they're made by Americans. No offense.
There are certain there are certain things that we make here that are crap. There are a lot of things that if you pair the right aftermarket parts with, it's going to last you a very long time. It's going to be very reliable. But the thing is the OEM is garbage. Planned obsolescence.
What
But
you
the
guys do,
aftermarket is not garbage.
you guys do good basic stuff. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean like a basic V8. So if you compare the current Vet with the current Mustang, the Mustang's got what I would call a European-esque engine, and the Vet hasn't. I say that the newer one will have, but the one that's just come out that was acclaimed as being the 50 grand Vet mid-engine. Not that it ever would be that price, but you know the one I'm talking about. Well, that's got a really basic V8 with push rods in it, and it'll just last an eternity. You just know that LS engine's going to last forever. That's why everybody buys them and mods them, because they're good. But leave that to the Europeans, because when the Americans build the not the Mustangs, the Mercedes, they're just crap, because they're complicated, and I don't know if the guys in the factories, they just aren't interested in doing it the way the Germans do it, but they're not done the same. Likewise, if you buy a Jap car, so people in the States misunderstand what it comes when you say a blanket statement like if it's a Honda. Well, aren't Hondas made in America as well? I'm sure there's some Hondas that are made there.
Some factories, yes.
Right. So what you really want is a car that's made in Japan. That's what you actually want.
Right, and we have importers for that. There's a place down the road where I can go pick up all Japanese motors.
Right. And if you open the car door and in the door jamb you look at the label and it says made in Japan, there's a pretty good chance that it'll be reliable and it won't break and it'll be nicely screwed together. Yeah, just because it's a Honda or just because it's a Toyota or whatever, a Merc, if you're talking about European cars, doesn't mean it's going to be nicely screwed together. But if you did buy a Merc that was actually made in Germany, then yeah, it probably would be really well screwed together. But with a Merc, it would still use plastic parts everywhere, like stupid plastic parts. It really frustrates me with modern cars how stupid they've got with what they use on hot parts of the engine, plastic bits, and you're like, that part won't cost any cheaper. It won't be less because it's plastic when you come to replace it in 5 years or 3 years or whenever the warranty runs out, when it's falling to pieces and crumbling, and because it's plastic and it should be metal. Like, why isn't it metal? Well, because they need to get the efficiency lower, so they need it to be lighter. Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, I took my hydraulic hose when it busted. I took it over to an actual hydraulic shop and had them put on everything correctly. They cut off all the fittings, they cut out the hose, they replaced it, and they replaced it with better hose. I just like aftermarket. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to make sure it's going to last longer.
That's monster truck mentality, though, isn't it?
No, not necessarily. Because, like, with any of the motors that you talk about, like the Hemi or the V6 or the 4-cylinder, you can get aftermarket tough parts. You can get heavy-duty parts for whatever you're trying to do that are going to last longer. You can get a heavy-duty water pump. You can get heavy-duty alternators. There's all kinds of things that you can do to upgrade your system. Better gaskets, better seals, better valves, steel braided tubing. I mean, there's different things to be done. It's yours to customize. The OEM is garbage from stock. That's why you're supposed to change things, make it yours.
Well, you'd hope that's the case. It isn't, otherwise there'd be no appeals for a right to repair, reform or bill or whatever it is they're seeking, because the manufacturers don't want that. They want you to return the car to the manufacturer every time it needs servicing or repair, regardless of how old it is. They want to lock you out of all of the OBD port access. That's what they were going to do moving forward. So if you've got a Ford, you go back to the Ford dealership. You don't go to Joe Bloggs around the corner and customize it. You buy a crap plastic part for 3 times of its actual metal component counterpart value. That's what they want, and they'll probably get it.
From people who don't. I mean, come on, you buy a house, you're not going to keep somebody's old furniture in there. You're going to put your furniture in there. You're going to make it you. Same thing with a car. You have to make it you. And most people don't have enough car knowledge to do much about anything.
Maybe it's a fair comparison. Either way.
That makes sense to me. Because when
I mean, I do agree. OEM is crap. A lot of OEM is crap. It's why you can do a custom order on something and get rid of the crap parts and put heavy duty parts in its place if you order from the factory. Or you can buy something cheap, put the money into the parts, and then build it.
That's what I did.
I
Well,
remember,
you know what they do sometimes though is if the manufacturer finds out that you have replaced it with OEM, then it kind of voids the warranty sometimes. So which is kind of fucked up because they are forcing you to get a product that is less superior that they call their own only because it's going to, in time it will need to be replaced again, but they're not going to cover you if that if you don't replace it with their crap. It's pretty messed up.
Dude, I'm not worried about the warranty though. That's why I buy the older car. Look, I can get into a parts coverage program, and then the insurance will take care of anything that happens in the event of a wreck. Other than that, I'm good to do whatever I want to do. It's out of its warranty. It's 25 years old. I could drop in an LS, delete the cat, have fun.
We really need to change the subject. Someone needs to segue this onto nature of Earth related subjects.
Well, somebody told
Well,
me.
still,
Somebody told me that they have footage that they're going to reveal to me that proves that man landed on the moon. I can't wait.
The journey would be via a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum, though, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
No, they didn't go to the moon.
maybe they meant the model of the moon.
No, they mean they're going to the heliocentric sky vacuum moon.
No, I meant the Hollywood studio where it was filmed. Or should I say London studio where it was filmed, since Kubrick was involved.
I don't know if it was filmed in London.
Well, didn't they go to London where the set was already made? Not London, but England somewhere?
I don't know. That, like I say, that whole story, I don't know if I buy any of it.
I tend to, well, if you don't buy any of it, it's sure nice to have those old pictures of him walking with the NASA guys, all in preparation for you not to buy it.
Yeah, but equally, I could spin that as, yeah, he had an association with him. He borrowed lenses from them. Again, do you believe that? It's just another
Well,
part.
I happen to have an in on the story, so I do believe he worked with NASA. Yeah.
Okay, so the photographs could be easily explained by him acquiring lenses for Barry Lyndon.
No, I meant the way I was saying it.
That's what this guy tells me too. It's inside information. I can't wait to hear about this level and stuff.
Hey Nathan, I just wanted to tell you, it's pretty cool to have I like your platform. It's safe from allowing these ballers to come and spread their lies so freely as they do, like in the channels in the server, like on the main chat and stuff, and besides the live stream. Over there in those chat rooms, these guys come in and they just spend day after hour, day after day, week after week, month after literally at this point it's year after year, same people going in there spreading lies, talking about the ball and all their nonsense and their proofs, which are retarded. But I just really thank you that you have this platform, because it shuts that shit down quick, and I think that's what I'm trying to get a point across. Like, we need to start just shutting it down and not letting them even, try to leak that poison into anyone's ears. You know what I mean? So just thank you. Just want to appreciate it. I've been coming to your show for
Sure. Your
quite a
thanks is
few years now.
equally contrasted with people's objections to me doing exactly what you appreciate. So it's a really mixed bag in terms of the opponents, which might not necessarily mean globeheads or anti-flat earthers, could mean flat earthers, could mean concavers, but generally the objection is you didn't let them get to the end of their begging the question, formal logical fallacy, affirming the consequent, stereotyping fallacy, burden of proof reversal fallacy. You didn't let them get to the end. You stopped them. It's like, typically that's not the case either. What usually happens is somebody will introduce an argument, we'll hear the entirety of the argument, then start debating it, and as we pull apart various aspects and they start restating them, they'll interrupt me. That's normally the way that it actually happens. They don't get to assert it and then just say, well, I've won because I stated the full argument. It's heard, it's pulled apart, but then it's not tolerated that their rumpusing comes through when it should have just been accepted without any challenge. So, yeah, I do get criticised from the other side for doing exactly what you praise me for. But thank you.
Well, hey, at this point, if they continue to bicker about the way you do things, well, you know what? Like, the truth needs to be defended and protected, and no matter what the naysayers may say, like, at this point, we need more people such as yourself to make it more it's to make it okay to go against the truth, because like, there's people even within the server that are very protective of the ballers, and they don't like it when you criticize them, and it's ridiculous, because at that point it's like, well, if you're supporting them being able to come spread lies, then it's kind of like you're also part of the problem at this point. You get what I'm saying?
Hashtag righteous force.
I feel so sorry for the poor ballers. No, I don't.
Well,
Melby Styles
come
is
on, they
fellas.
only
It's gone, 10.
they only have 95 to higher percentage of the world believing their lies. So I mean, they just got to eradicate this small corner. That's all.
Yeah. Apparently, we seem to be a threat to them. Don't know why. Don't know why they've decided, oh, we need to step up and choose to defend this crap that was given to us.
Hey, they even got.
But in order to defend it, we've got to remix it. We got to change it. We got to not even believe some parts of it in order to defend it. Isn't that cool? 2022.
The fear is palpable because they got Congress to pass laws. They got YouTube to do whatever YouTube does. We're no longer on the first page, let alone the 20th page when you do search. They just have to get rid of us.
We just have to accept scientific consensus. Yeah, that's it. That's the ticket.
Yeah, I don't think that's right. I think when you say they, Chocolate, you're right, but only when contextualised as being the powers that should not be that were just mentioned by 10th, the Congress, YouTube, all of that list of people. Well, the people who is then associated with what you call they are the ones that then remix it and don't have to even believe in it. But they're a separate group, and they're locked here with us.
Yeah, true. But the question I have is what makes them all of a sudden choose to defend this, right? Because I get it. Yeah, we all grew up with it. We've shown it as kids and all that. I get the programming part of it, right? But when you get to a certain stage of in your defense of it, you have to literally do the things like I said. You got to remix it. You got to change it. some parts you just want to be like, nah, it's not really that. You know, you go against the people that have purported this nonsense to you. Well, at what point does logically do you say, well, obviously I'm wrong, and I should accept new information? You know,
it doesn't. It's because the problem actually is, the problem is epistemology. They don't know how to think. So when you point out a fallacy that they've used in every other aspect of their life, they're just going to do the mental gymnastics to overcome that. But the problem, the fact that they're committing these fallacies, aside from the rhetoric, whatever it may be, that's the problem. So that's why this is a problem across the board. And people who are, we understand because we've chosen to look at the logic and understand, okay, this is a lie, this isn't true. Okay, coming to this conclusion in this way is a begging the question fallacy or whatever it is. And so the problem with people accepting that is kind of accepting that they've fucked up in life because they use those fallacies in life. They can't stop now. They just cheated on their person and they have to fucking keep the lie going. They're not going to tell us, hey, yeah, you're right. It's obvious. Like the earth is flat. My bad, dog. They're not going to do it because the problem is not
AKA pride gets in the way.
Exactly.
Can I just say a quick hello before we start the live show to Adam and John?
Just did my name. Sorry. Why?
That's good enough for me. Hey, John. No, we're not going to get a hello out, John, it looks like.
Probably entangled in kids.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll start. Hopefully we'll get a hello in the live show. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Arwin, I'm guessing, joining in the intro, Chocolate Saying, Neil, Eli, 10th Man, Refracted Curvature, the Adam Meekin, and Sleeping Warrior, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hey!
Yo.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, good afternoon.
Afternoon, everyone.
Hello. It's been a couple of days of not actually doing any housekeeping questions, so I'm going to do those now, if that's all good by you guys. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Well, that would be because we keep our house pretty clean here. So we don't got any Globers muddying it up. And no, There's
No, not since 2020, not since the Black Swan. No.
No.
Hey, you stole my line.
It still exists in people's heads who are willing to have considerations, and that's it.
Some say the horizon is the Earth curve, and some say whoever said the horizon was Earth curve. And they're all ballers.
Yeah, the horizon's not Earth curve, as stated.
How,
Debunked
how
2020.
how could we see something that only exists as a thought experiment and in the math?
Is it just me, or is 10th Man now almost so quiet that we can't hear him?
Yeah.
Sounds like he's in the distance.
What? You can't hear me?
Yeah, suddenly G Plus has gone really quiet.
It's delightful. Nah.
I can hear
I
you.
was getting
guys.
ready to say,
Yeah, you
Hey, John.
seem to be half sound.
I don't know. I'll figure it out. Don't worry. Hey, John.
asserting Earth curve contradicts the celestial sphere model. So, yeah.
How so?
Well, the celestial sphere model has a flat plane with angles being taken from the ground level. So, if the ground's curving, then you're not getting an angle.
I suppose the next logical question is there any evidence that you can actually acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline, aka an angle measurement used in the celestial sphere model, as they all are, versus a curved Earth to get it from?
We'd had a little reshuffle of the words. I've put the it's gone to the printers, but I like the wording you put because we were doing it for the banner, weren't we? So it had a bit more needing less kind of explaining. So it's any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle from a curved Earth baseline. The answer's still no.
Is this the Finnish pull-up?
This is the final. We got Brian in, we got Betty in. Brian's logo was a pain, but we got it done.
What is this, Adam?
Is
What
it?
is this?
Hold on, before you just answer that, did you say it's already gone off to the printer?
It's gone, yeah.
Okay, just wanted to check.
is
So
this a
no one
folder?
criticise it for things that need to be changed. Because they can't be.
Not
Just
now.
let's get that clear.
You can still criticise it, but it ain't changing out.
Okay, so to answer your question, Chocolate, this is a pull-up banner that's going to go out on the road, and where people stand in front of it, it's 6 foot. How high? 6 foot. How many inches?
It's 2 meters high by 1 meter wide.
There you go. So it's a big old roll-up, pull-up banner that sticks on a pole and then stands next to people as they're walking by. Now, coincidentally, the show name, Flat Earth Debate, encompasses what's going to be going on that particular location at that particular time, right, Adam? So might as well use that to my advantage. And when Adam suggested the idea, he showed me the original, and I was like, no, make it all much bigger, like much bigger. And that's what we've got. So I basically take all credit for this hard work that Adam spent several hours on.
This is
really
cool.
awesome.
Which you should.
Who's that? Who is the third? Like the big
Eli.
blue. I can't
Eli.
see who that is.
It says anomalous. That
Yeah,
was one
Eli's logo just, I don't know, Eli approved it. It doesn't say anything Eli to me, but there we go, Eli. It's obviously your bag.
I can explain that. So Elijah is in the wilderness and is fed every day by the brook in the wadi, and he's brought food by the ravens. All his sustenance is brought to him by God by the ravens.
What?
Yeah, if it needs explaining, need I say more? Right, which one is it? Because it's too small for me to... Oh, I can just about see it. Where's my mouse?
Talking about Eli the prophet.
Which one is he? Which is bottom row? Whereabouts?
Next to Betty. In between Betty and Sleeping Warrior.
Oh, there's a stupid thing from Google appearing. Right in the middle. It's like
Yeah,
Yeah.
third.
This one.
Mic check.
Yeah, we've spent far too long on this. This is now like pulling teeth. I've got to be honest, lads.
I discovered an error. It says astrology. It should be saying astronomy at number 8.
It says astronomy before it. Astronomy, astrology, and astrophysics.
Astrology?
Yeah, don't
But
be a
is
clever
that
dick,
hard?
Owen. Nobody likes a clever dick.
No, but you're right. It wasn't. But is astrology in that list, really?
But before
Is
we
this
go
a
on,
polite way to ask me to leave the party?
can Adam just explain a bit more about what this is, the purpose of it? I've given a vague outline as a summary, hoping he would lead off from that, but we've ended up critiquing this a bit more than I was hoping for. Lovely, though. I haven't said it yet. Adam, it looks glorious. I'm just blown away with how great it looks.
I'd like to thank my
Agreed.
mum, my wife, and of course my art director, Mr. Nathan Oakley. That was a good job, mate. Good bit of brain pulling, and it was a great idea to make it like that because
John, what did you just say?
Well, I can address that. It's his own fault for not having a logo, and it was too literally. It's got to go off next week, and I've done it. But I'm picking it up Friday, and I've got to get it on the tour, I think, for Monday. So, bit of a rush job. But even Eli being put in, I didn't get approval, but I just thought, sod it. His logo's been done.
Thank you.
No worries.
I don't know how
Much
useful
love.
it'll be if anybody's like, oh, you've just grabbed all of the potential publicity. It doesn't really state go to Flat Earth Debate on YouTube. And even if you did type in Flat Earth Debate into YouTube, you probably wouldn't find me. So the fact that it's not saying Nathan Oakley 1980 YouTube channel is my excuse to say, look, this isn't just aimed at promoting me. Although...
Oh, I thought it was, and I've put it at the bottom. There's Nathan Oakley and Nathan Oakley 1980, Quantum Eraser channel up next to there, and I've also put the Globe Terminator Ballbusters link in as well. But yeah, it's not overly... The point is it's doing encourage with the questions, just a bit of discussion. They're there to think of it. Just so happens the title of the show matches perfectly for what we're wanting to highlight. So
okay, yeah, sure. But what Adam's saying is in small print at the bottom, it suggests that you can go to the specific YouTube channels, Quantum Eraser or the Globe Terminator website or Nathan Oakley 1980. This isn't a criticism. I'm just saying that I viewed it more of the show title is conducive with what it's going to be used for. That's my hopeful segue into what it's going to be used for again. We'll see if this lands the second time. We'll see.
Yeah. So one
you know what's interesting, Nathan, is I want to say
it's
how
how subtle. I wasn't. Go on.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. Go ahead, Adam. You okay?
No, I was gonna say it must have been around. I want to say 2017 or 2018 when I was just going through YouTube and your Nathan Oakley show popped up. I don't know if you were even around that time, but I'm just thinking because I'm trying to place where I was at living at the time that I started listening to you, and it had to have been like 2018, 2017 maybe. But I never even realized that like I didn't know Ballbusters was around. I don't know if it was back then, but your YouTube got me into the Discord, and I didn't even know what Discord was. I never even knew that Discord was an app that you could download and have these servers and communities. So this was what's crazy because it led me to Discord through your YouTube channel, and then I started to say, then the Discord opened up to Globe Busters and all these other avenues that ended up taking through your YouTube. So what year did you start it?
Great. What year did you say? Because there's a good chance that wouldn't be the case now.
I want to say like
we were definitely around before 2017.
Yeah, but around 2017, if you'd have typed in for the sake of argument, just because that's what we're talking about, Flat Earth Debate into YouTube search, you would have found me first.
Yeah. You used to always be right up on top, and your notification was on point all the time. Like when you would start streaming, like within a minute or two, I'd like ping, like oh, he's streaming. But then later on, like I even stopped getting your notifications. It was fucking weird, to be honest. Like they really were like low key, censoring you or some way or another because I didn't even know that you were streaming. Sometimes it was weird.
Yeah, you get used to it. It just means you have to work harder, and you can take two mindsets to it. One is that you could look at it that our counterparts who are in the same crappy corner of the internet as we are, the anti-flat earthers, get shoved to the top of the lists, and therefore anybody who's got a cursory interest in this subject will be making them money, not me. But on the other hand, I have to rejoice in the fact that the support I get, which is why I shout out the Patrons every day and try to go out of my way to shout out every single super chat, is because that is the kind of support that this subject gets me. Doesn't necessarily generate massive view numbers and ad revenue, but I'm more grateful to have the support of the people directly. That means a lot more to me personally than getting a higher ad revenue rate, a higher click-through rate. Yeah, I want those things. I'm not going to lie. I'm a YouTuber. I want to be more popular. Obviously, that's my aim. But by the same token, it really is touching when someone sends me a PayPal, and it just does normally a little one-line message. Sometimes it doesn't, but most of the time it's just got a one-line message that says something similar to what you've said, which is, I appreciate what you do. Here's some money. And I'm like, wow, that makes my day. I'll get goosebumps just talking about it, in fact. But there we go. We've had enough of this. Thank you for all the compliments. Really appreciate it. Not necessarily the case now, which is what the subject is, and that's why we've got this banner up. I'm going to try for the third time. This segue is going to land. It's going to be even less subtle. I know Adam's gone. He's taking it off screen. Oh, no.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
It's to aid the segue.
One more thing. All right, go ahead.
Don't even think about it, Eli. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, I did it last week, so forget it. Whatever.
The purpose of the banner, obviously, so starting actually this Monday in Plymouth, there is the UK Globe Light Tours back on the road. I won't read all through again, all the dates. You can see them there. So the purpose is obviously to just bring this to the public, hopefully pretty enough to start conversations. We've got the questions there. And it's not solely, this one is going to encompass a lot more other, for want of a better title, conspiracy theories. So there'll be other people there, a bit more speakers cornery, I suppose, of which Flat Earth is always going to be a prominent member, but it's not necessarily the sole function. There'll be other people presenting other bits and bobs. I don't know if there's any dielectric acceleration stuff going off, but I know there's like 9/11 bits and a few other more current topics as well. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, hopefully that covered the segue.
Not bad at all. Exactly. So there's another Globe Light Tour. That was the bit I wanted people to actually be told about.
I love the fact that it's got the housekeeping questions on it, because I think that's one of the main, the crux of this show is that I mean, I don't know. I think it's one of those standards that we keep, even though we've been told our standards are too high, But I love this. This is awesome.
Well, bear in mind that the text, the 10 questions, is about a meter high. So although you can't really, I'll just shout out this super chat. Shout out to Godzilla37, who says, I appreciate you and what you do. Goosebumps paid for Godzilla37. Thank you. Or Goosebumps paid for by Godzilla37. Thank you very much for the super chat. And indeed, I echo that sentiment. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so it's hard to get an idea of what this will look like because it's obviously on your phone or iPad or monitor. But when it's a meter high, those questions will look really sharp, really clear, because they'll be big. But like I say, you can't really do it justice when you show it like this. It looks all right, but it will look a damn sight better when it's big, right in front of you and nice and legible. All the text is 2.5 inches, per letter.
Perfect.
Looks good.
Hey,
Great.
Chocolate, there was a time when people wanted to get rid of the housekeeping questions? Just
Was
saying.
Globals,
Chocolate,
maybe.
As a long-standing member and my hero, man, as the one black guy before I got here, I would like for you to roll with me, and you know where.
I really appreciate it, man. I mean, as brothers, we fight the same fight.
Wait a second.
I'm glad. I'm glad
Oh,
Eli
man, that was a
recognised
good
your
one.
ethnicity there, Nathan.
Yeah, I'm glad to. I appreciate that.
Yeah. But no, I'll probably be going on this podcast, and I'm gonna be representing only why I'm here, and I'll be shouting out you guys, of course. And my reason for being here is because I realized there's only one claim that all of the other claims are tied to, and it's the spherical geometry, or whatever dimensions that they've claimed. I knew that was the I knew that was the thing I was chasing, because everything is tied to it having to have these dimensions. And so when the Black Swan came out, I was like, yeah, for sure, that settles that. It's really nothing much else to talk about. That literally right there kills the answer that I've been looking for but couldn't find. I couldn't find it because here is the obvious reality, the horizon. That's not geometric. That's the reality, that none of this shit was ever real. And all of it is predicated off of that right there. That's their only so-called that's as direct evidential you're going to get when it comes to the globe. And so that's what I'll be talking about only. I don't know about what's under the earth. I don't know what's at the end of the earth. I don't know how it's powered. I don't know how it was built. All I know is that they've lied, and that's why we all started talking about flat earth. And that's what people need to recognize instead of asking us all these asinine questions.
Gene has
Well,
a
that's the
question, says via Super Chat. TikTokers get 250 live with Super Chat money. Why are you not debating on TikTok? More money. Maybe. The TikTokers you watch might get 250 live and might get lots of Super Chat money. I have zero reputation there. It is something I periodically do look into, though. So I'm not ignoring you, but I have looked into it. As yet, it's still something I'm considering. Maybe in the future there'll be Nathan Oakley 1980 TikTok or Flat Earth Debate TikTok. Who knows? But for now,
people
no.
use your videos.
I know people use my videos. That's when I've looked at it.
I've seen your clips from the show on TikTok. People post it.
Yeah.
Just today, actually, just this morning, there was someone that posted it, and then at the end it showed the Globebusters little thing. Yeah, they use your videos online.
Yeah, cool.
Nathan, how's my sound?
They're much better. I don't know what you've done, but it sounds normal now.
I didn't do anything. I just want to say something.
Oh, okay. Well, you sound great.
Okay, great. This is on Eli's point. They have never seen Earth curve. Neil deGrasse Tyson says he's never seen it, based on that statement of when he holds the globe and says, we're only like an ant this far above. And yet everything about space travel, which is false, and stars and all of the stuff is based on Earth having a radius. And Earth doesn't have a radius, or we would see Earth curvature. So it's all a thought experiment. This is so obvious after the Black Swan. And this is why John came onto this side of the argument, because he realized it was never a measurement, but he always thought it was, until he realized it wasn't, and then says, my gosh, I've been believing a lie.
Obviously, someone shared the show today, as we were only 20 minutes in, and there's like over 100 people watching. So, very warm welcome to all of you who are currently watching live. Really appreciate all of you who've shared the show. If you've just joined us, please smash the share button. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
No,
It's derived from a flat plane.
That's correct.
No evidence at all. And the whole house of cards goes down because there isn't any.
So in the pre-show, we were talking about, or Neil specifically brought up, that there's new claims of infallible proof of going to the moon, i.e. physically landing on a rock in a sky vacuum. My immediate response was, no, they'd have to travel through a sky vacuum, which is automatically debunking any claims taking place in that region, akin to Narnia. the sky is not a vacuum. But is there any evidence you can have gas pressure, the stuff we're all breathing, without the necessary antecedent, aka requirement of a container for the gas we're breathing to press upon?
That was another one you wanted to reword, wasn't it? And I read it again now, you've reworded it. So, number 5, any evidence of the vacuum of space, gas pressure without a container.
Yeah, I think in text form, it doesn't... When I say it verbally, I want to invite the conversation, whereas when you're stating it as a statement in the form of a question on this list, it needs to stand alone without any context needing to be applied to it. Just read out how it's phrased on this banner one more time, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. So, any evidence of the vacuum of space, gas pressure without a container.
Now I've heard it, it does sound better, even verbally, doesn't it, than what we typically use?
Yeah.
Maybe an adjustment's required for the housekeeping question in regards to the sky vacuum. Any evidence?
I like it because it's specific, isn't it? It's getting to their point of their religion. It's more direct.
Yeah, just because it started off as a refinement to make the text look better when read doesn't necessarily mean it won't directly translate across to sounding better verbally on the show. Any evidence of the sky vacuum, that would be gas pressure without a container. That wasn't rhetorical, by the way.
Yeah, there's still none. No, I haven't actually worded the question.
But seriously, is there any evidence that you could travel to the moon via space, given that space would violate the second law of thermodynamics and the gas pressure we're breathing would disperse into that available volume if the sky was a vacuum called outer space? It's not. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
You can't have scientific evidence if you don't know what the naturally occurring phenomenon is.
Arwen's on fire today. I love it when Arwen plays normal person instead of a globie. Spot on.
Baldwin will return, don't worry.
About any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
See, there it is. It's cosmology, not astrology. Then it makes sense. Astrology is not a supposed science narrative discipline, you see.
It doesn't put astrology instead of cosmology?
Yeah. It says astronomy, astrology, and astrophysics. I thought there was something wrong.
Cosmology versus astrology.
Well, astrology is not one of the heliocentric narrative disciplines, so...
Yeah, astrology is not usually in the question.
It doesn't matter.
Cosmology.
You're depressing, Adam. Stop.
I'm thinking, can I contact the printer? Is this chance?
Don't worry. Don't change it.
Can we smash a logo out in time for refracted curvature? All these questions.
Honestly,
you could just put a sticker over it, you know?
Don't worry about it. No, don't stick a sticker over it. Just leave it exactly as it is. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't.
You don't want to. You don't want to. You don't want to. You don't want to get the hippies mad and then have them miss the message, because they'll be on board with astronomy is bullshit, but astrology don't you tell somebody who think they're a witch.
Yeah,
I'm qualified with any scientific hypothesis from the fields of.
It's still contextually correct.
Don't piss off the faith healers.
Number one, it's contextually correct. No, it would be better. Yes, Arwen's correct if it had cosmology instead of astrology. However, the average Joe that walks past it probably won't get that far down in the questions before they're asking something if they're intrigued. Right? Number two, I'd take that over a spelling error every day of the week. So I don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make any... Nobody who's reading that's going to know that we say a slightly different word. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
They will.
You still broke my heart, Arwen.
I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter. It's
I
not
know all
important.
about it. Dude, when I wrote my Dungeons and Dragons book, I've rewritten and spell corrected it 15 times. Every part of it. Because you always get things wrong. It always happens. Like if it's more than one sentence, you're going to probably get something wrong.
It doesn't matter. It's not wrong.
It is.
It's not. It's just not what we say on the live show. But But most of the questions have had some alterations to them to some degree or another. So it really does not matter. Anyway, can we drop this?
Well, it does because that thing is specifically not on the list. But it's all right. I get you. Most people won't get to that point. And then it's not like they hang out in the open. There's going to be flat Earth debaters or flat Earthers there that can clarify, like, oh yeah, astrology is supposed to be cosmology.
It's not like it's out of context, Darwin. It doesn't say any scientific hypothesis from the fields of astronomy, astrophysics, and knitting, does it? It's at least in the same region.
Exactly.
You don't have to needle the point at them.
Oh, that's fine. It's technically correct, but it's not appropriate.
It is appropriate. The main context of the question is asking for scientific validity for the assertion of a globe. It doesn't matter if it comes from astronomy, cosmology, astrophysics. It doesn't matter where it comes from. The assertion in the question, the important bit, regardless of the fields that you summarise after the main bit of the question, is any scientific evidence.
Well, I agree with Arwen. I agree with Arwen in the sense that I agree with Arwen in the sense that cosmology is quite literally what the pseudoscience is. They're promoting this cosmology and cosmogony, the beginning of all of this universe that is the cosmology. All of that is supposed science, whereas astrology is not. That's what's inappropriate about it.
Right, they did totally deny astrology has any legitimacy. They throw it away as superstition, right, with God, right? So it's kind of weird putting it in between there if you really know the deeper context.
That's it. I quit.
No, but the rest is perfect.
It's not that. It's not a big deal, you know. It's cool.
It's perfect in its imperfection, Adam.
Okay. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there.
Astrology has the answers. Maybe scientific evidence.
Oh, it's too late now. It's in the ethos now. Look, therefore, the border is totally legitimate.
There you go. I just legitimised it, Arwen.
Well, then put ether in there too.
Why? Nobody's challenging
because
that.
I thought that would be annoying to you.
No, but it's not a Western world religious viewpoint that we have ether or phlogiston.
It's becoming that.
Oh, really? Oh my! You really think that?
How many flat earthers do you know that actually believe
flat earthers? How many of the smallest of small subsets of the smallest pond on the internet think we have phlogiston? I mean ether.
I think a substantial percentage
of the tiny pond.
Yeah.
You know, I found myself arguing with these guys over at Geo's because the guy was basically, I was telling him that what he's trying to suppose is not a valid hypothesis. And then he used an invalid hypothesis with phlogiston, whatever it's called, to tell me, see, they did this and discovered with a new hypothesis that old hypothesis was wrong. And I'm like, no, that's not how any of this works. And so it's funny that you're saying now, you're relating the two of those things. And I was arguing, well, that's not a valid hypothesis to begin with. So why would you bring it up? It's against your point.
Can you summarize the phlogiston point, please?
That they said the hypothesis was that phlogiston caused fire. So then they went on to say, okay, now how do we test that? And then they said, okay, well, and then all they did was beg the question. But then they made a new hypothesis and then just dumped the old hypothesis.
No, I meant for you to explain what is phlogiston and why they use it.
Because they were using it to try to they were using it as an example of how their astrophysical hypotheses are valid. And I was like, no, you're just giving me another invalid hypothesis.
What is it?
What is phlogiston?
Yeah.
It's what people used to believe caused fire.
Is it a
Right, they
thing?
believed it was a substance.
It's like gravity. Gravity causes things, right? Well, not now, because now it's the effect of space time. But phlogiston caused fire. That's what they said. That's why it was pseudoscience. It's not anything. Is the point?
Right, they
It's
believed it was
nothing.
like a substance that just is in between things and that it was the cause.
Okay,
Yeah,
Kind of like ether's supposed to be the
Sorry,
cause of light, according to Ethereans.
I just read between the lines with what 10th Man's asking. How is it used in this comparison now that you know what phlogiston isn't, i.e. a cause of combustion? Well, what they're doing is they're mistaking the hypothesis for an explanation, which I can do verbally, not on paper, but with a slight change of intonation in the affirmative hypothesis. I'm going to ignore the null, as they would. So, if phlogiston, then combustion, would be a hypothesis, supposition yet to be validated. The supposition that something I've made up, and I'm assuming is real, phlogiston, causes combustion. Okay? So if phlogiston, then combustion. Ignoring the fact that phlogiston isn't real and I can't vary and manipulate it to validate this hypothesis, I'm just going to change the hypothesis in the way I say it. If phlogiston, then combustion. You see how they're the same word said slightly differently? Now my hypothesis is an explanation with the exact same words. And I've automatically assumed that phlogiston's real and it's the cause of combustion.
Yeah, they would reify that or validate that with, look, this wood, it burns, so clearly it contains phlogiston. Yeah, this metal can't get it to burn. There's no phlogiston in it. That would be a proof. But the point is that what you're doing is you're deriving a theory just based on observation. There's nothing, like you said, there's no hypothesis to support what you're doing. You're just making an ad hoc theory that fits with your observations. There's nothing to really support it. And when you investigate further, it falls apart because it was literally just something you made up to fit your observations in the case
Right.
of just.
I always saw it as a very cheap attempt at chemistry. Very cheap. Where you just put it all over one comb, right?
It's not incorrect. It's just very basic. Some things burn and some things don't. Right? That's the thing you've noticed, right? Now, what you've then done is leaped a leap of knowledge to assume that the reason something burns isn't because of the substance itself, but within the phlogiston theory that this substance contains phlogiston as well, which is why it will burn.
I think they're confusing.
Go on, John.
I think they're confusing scientifically falsifying something with testing the null.
Yes,
you know,
I'm going to
so
cover
you
that
can
in a second.
scientifically falsify.
Absolutely spot on. I'm going to cover that in a second. Shout out to Rene, who says, Nathan Oakley, best globe-abortionist on our beautiful, non-rotating, flat Earth in the centre of the whole universe. I owe it all to Quantum Eraser. But thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Okay, so, yes, John just explained that they're mistaking the null, i.e. a supposition of cause yet to be validated. An alternative hypothesis with the supposition of cause yet to be validated alongside a null. That's your supposition of cause yet to be varied and validated, but with the outcome being it doesn't cause the effect. That's a null hypothesis. The two are used in conjunction if you're following the actual scientific method. Well, if you just drop the null and change that supposition yet to be validated into an explanation, you then take you get 2 for 1 bonus out of doing that. Number one, you've reified the thing that doesn't exist. Doesn't matter if it's three-toed gnomes, unicorns, or in this case, phlogiston. And then you just describe what you've reified into an explanation for something that you see occurring. In this case, combustion. So, mistaking a hypothesis which hasn't been validated for an explanation is what this is originally contextualized as. It's been used in the negative with Eli to say, well, no, this is how explanations, which we call hypothesis from their side of the argument, are actually malleable and need to be adjusted and changed. That's how science works, right? That's what they were saying to you, Eli, with the example they gave you with phlogiston in it.
That's exactly what they were saying. Because better science came along.
Right. Whereas in reality, there was no natural phenomena to observe. Well, there was, if you say something's on fire, but okay, there's no variable, independent variable, because you haven't got something you can physically vary. Phlogiston isn't something you can hold and vary, or capture and vary, or show in any way, shape, or form, because it isn't real. Like gravity isn't real. But you can take what seems like a supposition yet to be validated and just turn it into a statement of truth. If phlogiston, then fire.
Well, they go a little bit further than that because phlogiston's been scientifically invalidated by experiment. So then they'll say the Sagnac effect, right? It had two suppositions in it. One, it was the turn of the Earth or movement of the Earth or whatever, and the other one was the movement of the ether. So now that in their minds they've eliminated the movement of the Earth, then it has to be the ether. So it's testing your null.
Well, no, that doesn't work in the scientific method either, because an independent variable is the sole presumed cause of the effect. The only thing that can be varied if you're following the method. It's not stacked up in dichotomy. So you haven't got if Earth turn, if we're going to call that a variable that you can vary, whatever. If Earth turn, then, I don't know, Coriolis effect. Well, that null would be if Earth turn, not Coriolis effect. Not if Coriolis effect, then the alternative would be a second variable of ether turn. It's like, no, the way the method works is you have something that you can, number one, show to be real. Number two, can actually be varied and manipulated. And number three is your independent variable in the hypothesis. And it's independent on its own, alone, without anything else. So it's not if Earth turn or if not Earth turn, ether turn. That's not how the scientific method functions. One at a time. So put the thing that you have got and is real and can be varied into your hypothesis as the independent variable, and that will be causing the effect you're studying in the alternative hypothesis. And mirroring it, you'll have the null. If Earth turn, not Coriolis effect. That's it. No mention of ether. Now, if that fails, let's say for the sake of argument that we actually managed to put this through the method, that would be a bloody varying Earth turn. Not possible. Nevertheless, let's say you did. You put it through the method and you showed that Earth turn wasn't or was the reason that you had Coriolis effect. Well, in the case of validating the null, well, it didn't cause Earth turn that we varied because we stopped Earth and started it again. It wasn't actually the cause of that effect at all. Shocker. So then you have to move on to the next thing. In other words, you put the next independent variable through the method. If ether turn, okay, well then if you're going to be varying ether turn, number one, you've got to have ether to show me, and then you've got to physically vary it and manipulate it, and then show that your physical variation of that, which you've shown to be real first, has actually caused the effect. In this case, Coriolis drift of the stars. Now, it's just they fail at the first hurdle because in the case of phlogiston, gravity, and ether, you're not going to show me any of them, let alone vary and manipulate them physically.
What I got John saying is that somebody brought a match to the party where phlogiston was supposed to show up.
Put it through the computer. Says no match found for humour.
Do I get one strike for that?
Oh, I'm going to extinguish this
One
conversation.
strike.
Quick, sharp. Anyway, is there any evidence for self-effect? Go on.
I was going to say I'll try to keep my comments lighter.
I'm going to tear one up
It's
in a
getting
minute.
better and better, man.
Okay. Are we done? Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope. But they have pinned it down to a specific type of architecture or lore on how cores work, and they're applying that widely on presupposed bodies outside of Earth. But there's no actual proof for it, though.
Maybe there's phlogiston down there.
Well, there would have to be.
Yeah, but it's a nothing. How could it be there when it's nothing?
Well, there's lava. Lava burns, so phlogiston, yeah.
Are we still doing this, really?
Well, it's at the core of the subject.
Phlogiston is not at the core of any subject, and the self-perpetuating molten iron core has no evidence to back it, as demonstrated to me so far. So I'm looking for evidence of self-perpetuating molten iron cores, not phlogiston.
Well, maybe it would have to be phlogiston. Maybe phlogiston is the thing that makes the molten iron magnetic, right? Because what else would do that?
Molten? What? Show me that before you start deciding how you're going to describe why it's magnetic.
Well, normal iron, when it's molten,
no. I'm not asking how.
We know that, right?
No, stop.
So if it is magnetic,
it's Baller's back. I'm not asking how metal behaves. I'm asking about a molten iron core. I don't want you to tell me about the molten iron core we're going to assume. That's part of the question. Self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. Right, you've got to go around all of that. Not just talk about the core and how metal behaves and then describe metal behaviour. That's not going to fly.
Of course, you're right. So it is widely known that the magnetic core is magnetic. You don't include that necessarily, but it is the claim, right?
It's just done the same exact thing again, hasn't he? It's just done the exact same thing. No, it's not widely accepted. No, if you want to compare this tiny little pond 10 minutes ago as being the entirety of the Western world in their belief in ether drift, then I'm going to say no, it's not widely believed, because this little pond doesn't believe it. That's why I'm asking.
Well, they will.
Will they? Oh, what, they're going to get shown to prove it to him, Arwin?
Well, as soon as they figure out that molten iron is not able to actually cause a magnetic field, then what is? So it has to be phlogiston.
According to their rhetoric, it's self-perpetuating. So Arwin's point, although valid to debunk the claim, is that molten iron cannot be producing this magnetism that they suggest it does, because it's beyond the Curie point, in terms of their rhetoric, at their temperatures, at the centre of their presupposed spherical Earth. So fair enough, I should have let you go initially, Arwin. My bad.
Yep. That's what I do. So you agree that it would have to be phlogiston that is causing...
No, I do not agree that it would have to be phlogiston, because I don't assume there's a self-perpetuating core to be beyond a Curie point. But they want us to argue about Curie points, I suggest, because then we're still assuming that there's a molten iron core, or we argue about the cause of it, or how metal behaves in the core that we're assuming. Sod that.
Yeah, okay, I get it, but, you know, if the Earth was a globe and it had a core and it was molten, then it would have to be phlogiston that is causing the molten iron to be magnetic, right?
Gotcha, the phlogiston produced by the unicorn turds in Narnia, if it was real, and we assume unicorns are producing turds that produce phlogiston to then fall down, go boom boom as a gas to go into the... Yeah, of course, Arwin.
Damn, that's actually really good.
Yeah, hold on a sec. If you're going to let him presuppose something as silly as the Earth being a sphere, what's wrong with that?
I think if you allow someone to do something as stupid as assume the Earth's a sphere, when realistically they're actually measuring their assumption of sphericity based on a flat Earth that they're measuring an angle from. So it's ludicrous, John.
Right, but I mean, if you're going to give them that, why, yeah, sure, this imaginary Earth has a molten iron core. Yeah, whatever.
That's my attitude towards it right now. If your average normie said we've got a molten iron core, actually, I don't know if that's true, because that was tested in a different regard the other day at a home ed class I was with my eldest daughter, and although it didn't happen in the class, so they had Darwin on one of the boards that had obviously taken place for a different class. I was thinking, God, I hope this isn't a class on Darwin. Don't get me wrong, I'll teach my kid about Darwin, but I won't necessarily teach it in the way that it's taught in schools. which is how I assume this particular teacher was, and it did bother me. So when it comes to things like this, if somebody started postulating the idea or notion of a self-perpetuating molten iron core, I think it probably would get my goat.
Well, you know
as
what?
opposed to, sorry, I just want to add that on to the end, as opposed to what John just said, which is like, yeah, give it them whatever, yeah, whatever. No, I think it would get on my nerves. It's just, as Arwin's saying. Go on, Arwin.
Yeah, but you're totally right, because it's almost supposed to be getting on your nerves. If they hadn't made that silly claim that it's a molten iron core that's causing the magnetism on Earth, then you could have just let it slip by, right? But now they're making a claim that is just palpably incorrect, even within the presupposition. So it's almost meant to draw you in and fight it, right? If they hadn't made that one claim about it, then you could just like, oh yeah, sure, maybe we'll figure it out one day. But they're just making straight in your face a claim that's physically impossible.
Well, it's the sort of monkey business they're up to all the time.
Yeah, but the amount of presuppositions that have to be true before you can even entertain that thought, you know, like, I don't know. I think that's why that one's the least important of the housekeeping questions to me.
Absolutely.
Yep, but they made it more important by putting on the magnetic claim part.
He just whistled straight past John's point.
Give you something.
Okay, so what John's saying is, to get to the point where you're talking about a molten iron core, you've got to measure a flat Earth to derive a spherical radius, and then violate your own flat Earth measurements to claim that you've got a curved surface akin to the measurement tool that you use to measure it on a flat plane. That's the first step. So then you employ the proto-fallacy and start to justify your own sphere belief with a radius value at 3959 miles. You then have to transpose that sphere Earth value onto Venus and apply Kepler's third law in order to derive distances in a sky vacuum for the heliocentric model. Once you've got those presuppositions in place, you can then turn the time back to a time long before we were in existence and have Earth smashed into by Theia to deposit an oversized molten iron core based on the core that was in the heliocentric model that you just assumed at the previous step, having been too small unless something made it oversized, i.e. Theia smashing into it. So then you assume that Theia smashed into Earth and that you've got an oversized molten iron core and the debris form the moon, in orbit around Earth, in orbit around the Sun, in the heliocentric model at the distances that you used R with Venus at the same R value as Earth and Kepler's third law, thanks to Christian Huygens' assumption, and the flat plane that you used to get the R value in the first place. Now that is a long list of presuppositions to get the point where Arwin's point takes effect, which is to say, at that point, the metal that they've got deposited from Theia, I won't go through the list again, is beyond the Curie point. So you're right, Arwin, but John's just more hard-hitting in terms of its point, because it's 7 steps along the begging the question fallacy by the time you're asking about the molten iron core's Curie point.
Of course, right? But the thing is,
So
somebody
you
can
had to
buy
do
into
all that. You had to do all that to get to a story that still doesn't work. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's right, Chocolate.
Yeah, but that's going to slip by a whole bunch of people, right? Especially in school, this is where we get to learn about it. What, you know about presuppositions and all? No, you don't. You just get to learn, oh, molten iron core, it's magnetic. Well, the magnetic part of molten iron not being possible is probably the first thing after that point you're going to learn in school somewhere in the near future. That's going to immediately give you another opportunity to think about the molten iron core and think like, wait, that's not supposed to be possible, right? Without knowing it's all derived from a flat plate, all that, they don't have to know that. You don't get to know that in school when you learn about the molten iron core, right? So it's almost like a built-in flaw. They had to make it wrong in order for you to naturally be able to stumble upon it again and give you the opportunity to overcome the mistake, the lie.
I think it's not so much. I think it's a consequence. You know, the other day we was talking about dark matter, dark energy. But this convoluted, contradictory tale, and the originator part that Nathan explains with theory is part of its fancifulness, but it's an exemplifier of how convoluted you have to get just to get magnetism into the ball model. Yeah. How else do you get this flat field, that we navigate with, onto a ball model? You've got to have it at the center of the ball. It can't be at the north, can it?
Yeah, but then it doesn't have to be molten. If it was just solid moving, one part is solid moving in relation to another part, you literally have a dynamo there, right?
Remember that the molten comes as a consequence that it's at the center of great pressures. The contradictory bit and the understanding about Curie point comes after that assumption, doesn't it? That knowledge is another kick in the balls. So he's done, we've got that wrapped up. It's like, we've got an iron core. Oh, it's going to be molten because of the pressure. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, bugger the Curie point. So it's a strap-on of problems. And that's why it's so convoluted, because its whole purpose is to try and get magnetism into a ball model, which is...
Right, but why you can't put it into a molten model? So if they just thought or said or concluded like, okay, maybe at the center it's molten, but a lot of it isn't molten, more to the outside, and it's spinning, right? And that might cause a dynamo effect. Then problem solved within the giant pile of presuppositions, of course, right? But they didn't. They just said, no, it's molten. It causes magnetism. You figure it out.
None of this makes sense because you don't even have R.
Imagine living on a magical spinning water ball with a molten iron core in the middle, and you're worried about global warming.
No, imagine what you just said, and you don't have proof of R. Now how
that,
you live.
that, yeah, that's even worse. But
Dude, climate change, the whole Earth is super hazardous. I mean, you're literally going to lose your atmosphere in a matter of seconds, right?
Hold on, I think John was about to describe a gaseous container that they describe. Go ahead, John.
I was about to say demonstrate the greenhouse effect without a greenhouse.
Can't. You're going to need a container for that.
And to Arvin's point, it wouldn't take seconds because it never exists to begin with.
But yeah, we wouldn't be there to figure that out. Yeah, the point is to imagine that we're on a heliocentric model spinning through an endless galaxy with just a little bit of air pressure right next to the ball versus nothing in a super hazardous outer space. And then to be worried about climate change is quite bizarre.
All these claims that they make.
It's like, oh, we can fix the climate somehow. It's supposed to be working. Oh, there's a meteor. Oh, boom. Oh, it was all for nothing. 1,000 volcanoes in one hour, right? It's all pointless from the true heliocentric perspective. Climate change is just a complete waste of time from within the model.
Let me know when you're done. All these claims
I'm done.
Thank you. All these claims they make need R. They don't have R.
Worried about that.
I mean, look
change. You're running around. You're living on a ball that's moving around another ball in a vacuum, ball of gas in a vacuum at 66,600 miles per hour, while that ball is spinning at 1,000 miles at the equator and following that other ball at about 500,000 miles per hour through the nothingness of the vacuum of space. I mean, it's a great cartoon.
Everything you just said, Chocolate, would be appreciated and believable if you had R. So it's a pretend world that they're making because there is no R to validate any of those things you just said, but they believe all those things.
We cover all the housekeeping questions.
No, we got stuck on a few and we haven't finished them.
We just cover axial rotation. Is there any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
You're going to need R for that.
Conservation of stationary momentum.
Sorry. And how does that prove axial rotation, Owen?
You imagine it, but there's no physical end result.
It's the art of proving without proving.
Yes, exactly. Chocolate gets it.
So what about proving
There
it
is,
by proving it? Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No, we don't do
wouldn't
that
expect
here.
to see any phenomena to indicate that, even though it's supposed to be happening, and it's still going to be assumed to be happening. You can't see it.
The only axial rotation on this Earth, it was in the chat, it was if you're on Earth with a yo-yo. That has axial rotation.
Well,
Yeah,
hello everyone.
There's plenty of things that have
What's up,
axial
Brian?
rotation. Earth-based variety. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, there was a guy. If there's a bit of background noise, just say it, and I'll go on mute. There's a guy in your comments on your video 2 days ago, Nathan, and he just said that within their current Coriolis claim of there being no drift to sea because their atmosphere is rotating with their globe. He said, what about, he made an interesting point. He said, what about jet streams? Shouldn't the jet stream show a deviation if something is in a jet stream because it's not moving? The whole point of it is that it's not moving with a globe Earth.
Sorry, the opponent's postulating the idea that we shouldn't have an effect, so he's just defying the globe claim that we'll have 15 degrees in our Coriolis effect then, and explaining why we don't have it.
This lad's a flat earther. He's saying within their claim of there being an atmosphere rotating with a rotating globe.
That's not their claim.
Yeah, I know that's not. Yeah, but Ted, these days it is. These days
No,
that's
it
the
isn't.
mainstream claim.
No, that's wrong. No, you've just been
Are you
convinced
sure?
because you spent so long arguing with anti-flat earthers that the globe claims no effect. No, it definitely claims Coriolis effect. 15 degrees an hour of it.
I thought they had changed it from it being 15 degrees an hour of rotation to the atmosphere moving with the Earth. I thought that was an official claim these days.
That can't be an effect of Coriolis drift because the illusion of Coriolis is only observed as you turn beneath things. So the globe claims something quite specific, Coriolis effect, which is only observable as you turn beneath things, and it's the illusion described as you turn beneath things. So when you start talking about how winds are going to behave or whether or not the globe rhetoric has changed to an effect that is essentially what you termed globiolis, well, no, they haven't.
Yeah.
They just claim Coriolis effect on the globe. It's just a lot of our opponents don't believe it either.
Well, the lad that said this, he just pointed out that even within their claim that the jet streams would disprove it because if you had, let's just say, for instance, a high altitude balloon going up in the air, when that hits one of the jet streams, then it should show the Earth moving underneath it, if that was the case, because the jet stream is moving independent of the globe at all times. Even within that new anti-flat Earth claim of an atmosphere that rotates with a rotating Earth.
In defiance of the globe claim of Coriolis.
Yeah.
Yes. But that's the bit I'm going to be labouring from here on in, Brian. So whoever's asking the question, I know you said they're a flat earther, but he's saying, well, shouldn't they, the anti-flat earthers, who are saying Earth and atmosphere move together? At that point, you have to say, so they don't believe in drift either, because globe claims Coriolis deflection at 15 degrees an hour, and they're telling us about Earth and atmosphere moving together. So they've got their own, on their own, or alone, away from the Western world belief in Coriolis deflection that isn't showing any deflection at 15 degrees an hour. They just don't believe in the globe claim of Coriolis drift. That's my point, and it will be laboured from here on in. But with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the thanks and PayPal button in the info box below the video, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Twins were pushing us.
It's like batshit insane, man. Imagine thinking the Earth acts like a blender. The air above it's just moving around because the Earth is moving. Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, but it can't do that because that's the first law of thermodynamics violation.
No.
And they've been very careful. I don't think they haven't said officially that there's a blend. It's the Earth's movement that causes that. They say there are jet streams up there, and golly gee, we have no idea how's that.
No, you could look up. They have places where it says, oh, the air is moving because of the ground, the friction between the air and the ground. It's like
somebody would tell me that.
Who wrote this shit?
I've stood under clouds, many layers of clouds, and I've seen 3 different directions the wind is moving those clouds right above myself. I mean,
I got a video of it.
It's nonsense. You don't even have to get to the jet stream.
Well, the reason I brought it up is I normally wouldn't do that. And I know it's not the Coriolis effect, but this lad got a lot of hate. There was like over 100 comments, and there was just hate coming his way from the anti-flat earthers, because he was pointing out something that even within their current claims, he pointed out something that would absolutely debunk it, and they hated it. They were just like, no. You know what I mean? It was like it was over. You know, he just pointed out something that debunked their current claim, regardless of whether how official it is or whether it fits the Coriolis effect. The point is they're claiming something, and this debunks that, and they hated it. So I just thought it was worth bringing up. And it causes them hate and rage. You know, it's because their sick belief is being destroyed.
Yeah, like with celestial navigation. Don't you dare mention 90.
Yeah. They threaten you.
Tired of it. Tired of you flat earth. Keep saying stuff.
Well, they're mad because they know we got the right angle for the argument.
Sorry, what were you saying, Eli? I'm tired of being a flat earther. I keep saying stuff. What was the rest of that sentence going to be?
No, that's what they said. I'm tired of it. Like you flat earthers saying stuff. Because the Black Swan came and it was like, oh, the Great Depression, and then, celestial navigation, and then BMLSB kept sharing stuff, so they couldn't say it was just a one-off. And they're like, praise the God. What's his name? The dude with Andrew Thomas Young, and then we got the PDF, and we're like, nah. That was good. That was very good.
I recognise the music, though. You recognise the music?
No.
Whoever it was, play it again.
No.
Anyway.
Come on, Sleeping Warrior, name that tune.
I can't. Someone needs to play it again so I can hear a bit more of it. I recognise it. I'm just trying to picture it.
I'll give you a clue. It's a band called Phlogiston.
There's no such thing as phlogiston.
Happiness is a band called Phlogiston.
Someone's trying to get you a strike, Nathan. Can't have that on your stream.
I would like to criticize you English for the English language that you guys are always propping up. Why would you put the word happy behind the phallus word? Y'all are just so immature. Happiness.
Happiness. This is very puerile.
You could call your penis ha, couldn't you?
Can we
Then
change
you'd
the
have a
subject
happiness.
immediately, please? Contextually, this is not linked to anything.
Just a fuddy-duddy in your old age, Nathan.
No, I just don't want to sit around talking about penises on the after show.
No, we're talking about happinesses.
Whatever.
Anyway, so
did you find any more elderly men to pick on, Anthony?
Say again.
Did you find any more elderly men to pick on?
Did I find out any more elderly what?
Elderly men to pick on. First of all, it was Phil Bell, then poor Danny Faulkner. Who's next?
I don't know. I've not found any elderly men, but I've found men that claim to be wise, and I've been picking on them, but they're just deluded. I'm losing interest in the topic because it's like I've got to the point where I think that every single ball earther that's looked at this topic for more than, say, I don't know, 6 weeks has to be, by definition, they have to be dishonest, willfully, intentionally deceiving everybody. Because I don't know how you can still push the ball model after looking into this topic critically or honestly for, say, 6 weeks or more. I don't know how you can do it.
I think you're mistaken into thinking self-deception is weak. It's very strong. They make arguments and they actually believe them.
I'm kind of half with you, Anthony. I'm half, like, I'll be half in that way where how can they all be so delusional and so naive?
Well, my answer is the same. Because being on this show here and watching it happen time and time again, it's not the rhetoric. In our case, it would be talking about the globe, the space religion, all of that, right? That's not the problem. The problem is when we try to point out, hey, your logic to come to these conclusions are flawed, guess what? They reject it. So we haven't really actually fixed that problem like ever. It's not about people understanding, oh, I see what you mean there. Like, that's just not something everyone does. We know that from everyday experience. Don't know why. It's just what it is. Maybe it's because of the program.
So it comes back to programming, right? Like before I came into the show today, 24/7 was playing audio clip of a past conversation. Actually, Eli, you were in it, talking to a globe head, and you really logically, laid it out for him, and his response to you was kind of funny. It was like something to the effect of, it doesn't really matter what you would show me. I'm so programmed to not believe in flat Earth that I just would not accept it. I don't know if you remember that conversation or not, but I heard it today and I was just like, wow.
Which conversation was that again?
With some dude. I don't even know who it was. They were just playing like the audio of a prior conversation, and you, Gospel, a couple of people laying it out, and the dude really said, he just said, like, even after you showed me everything you could show me and absolutely destroy it, I'm so programmed to not believe in flat Earth. I'm programmed to absolutely think that that's ridiculous, that I don't think I could ever change my mind. I was just like, wow, man. The fact that you could even say that, you recognize your programming and you're still willing to go with it, that's the part that I was just like, wow, this is crazy. That you as a grown ass man could say something like that.
See, but that's why my approach and my stance to all of this has changed. Like, not every flat earther who's having this conversation is gonna get to that point. Is gonna have a conversation that ultimately leads to somebody saying that. That happens to me all the time. Matthew Learns has done it. Whatever guy you're talking about has done it. This student in I don't know if it was astrophysics or whatever, something about there. He said it. They all say it when you can have a reasonable conversation with them. And when I realized, oh, you don't want to let go of your religion, I understood. I'm religious about things. I'm like, okay, since that's the case, cool. I guess. What else are you gonna say? There's nothing you can do at that point. So I'm done trying to force people
There's nothing that you should do at that point. At that point, it's the other person that should start doing something. Like, especially if you realize that something is wrong. How are you just willingly just accept it? Like, that's banana nutcake to me, bro. What the hell?
We've all seen the Matrix. We all seen the dude put a particle beam in the back of what's his name? Because he wanted his steak. Like, that's for real. And it's sad, but it's for real.
I think it's because them acknowledging flat Earth means that they have to, at this point, question everything that they've been taught from the science.
My shit is, though, how is that a bad thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you look at, oh, I should just question things instead of just accepting everything that I'm told? How is that a bad thing? I mean, that's, to me, that's like little kid status. Oh, my daddy told me so that's what it is. My mommy told me so. You know?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Science has been telling them what their life is their entire life, so.
You can't give them the quarter, you can't give them the inch. The globe is a lie because it fails at the very basics of the world, of reality, of knowing. And that is why everything that comes from it is a lie in the end. You have to start with the basics, and you have to stick with the basics, because they'll count around level. They'll tell you that level does bend, and that is just not true. That's nonsense. And it's getting annoying, but we're winning.
They're just holding on to their geometric considerations, right? Geometric consideration is a discipline to them. You have to keep doing it.
When you say we're winning, do you really believe that? And I'll contextualise why I'm asking. The fight, in my opinion, is between us and anti-flat earthers in the little pond. Well, that's like fish fighting in a little pond. They're not going to win the ocean, are they, if they're trapped in a little pond? But that's what we are. Don't get me wrong, there's examples of Adam and going out and actually going to the world with this, in the most literal sense, pressing the flesh. But we're fighting with people who are ultimately against the globe also, are we not? So how can we be winning if the battle isn't a battle we can even fight?
I don't think we're winning on YouTube.
I think the pond has maybe... Sorry.
No, go on.
Okay, I was just saying that I think if maybe the pond changed, maybe the pond got too much bull in it with COVID and, the fact that there was so much bull in COVID that it opened the eyes to see other bull in the things that they were saying. And those are the same people that are saying, that have taught us the globe, and we're a small pond here,
People keep
maybe,
saying
but
that.
there are a lot of channels and there are a lot of, platforms now. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, people keep saying that. That's true. The same way people have woken up during the last 2 years is the same reason I woke up during 2014, 2013 with politics. Is the same reason some people have woken up a long time ago with JFK. That people wake up here
It
and
was
there.
9/11
So the
for me.
conversation
Yeah.
So the conversation is, well, when will people stop falling for mass media? Because that's what they keep doing. And that's why it's always a next thing, which means psychologically they're broken somewhere. It's the programming that doesn't allow them to say, okay, I'm getting off of this carousel of fallacious reasoning. So again, because I can see that people are choosing, have you been on Facebook lately? Don't you see when something like the Amber Heard thing, everybody's talking about it, the Will Smith thing, everybody's talking, why? Because they still have the herd mentality. They're still going to go with where the mass media is, which means on any given day, they'll be opposed to you, the person who's trying to tell the truth. So the bottom line is, we're not winning that war yet. We're not even in the war. Because again, like he said, they put us in this little segregated tiny pond, and we're here. That's what I'm always talking against. I'm like, yo, I need ways to get out there. I'm Nemo. Who's coming with me? Chocolate, come on, come with, brother. I need you. Just another reminder.
You have to do it, Chocolate.
Okay.
You have to
These
do
people aggravate me.
it. But I'm gonna do it regardless. I'm gonna represent that, so don't worry about it.
It's getting easier to just point it out, like the what is it, not the January, the July 4th shooting and whatnot, the school shooting before that. I should maybe not say these words out loud, but all these events,
Yeah, we don't talk about those kind of
they're
things.
immediate now.
That's
You
kind of off.
can they're memes ready
This is not a
No,
subject
to
for
just show
flat
you
earth
how
debates.
it's.
Guy, this is not a
you've
subject for
blown
the flat earth debates. Come on.
yeah, that, and you've blown past my response to that. Like fundamentally, you're missing the point. Point being, what you're talking about now is no different than someone older than you who said the same thing you said 5 years ago, 6 years ago. There's always gonna be a you that started waking up and is looking through these eyes. Oh, people are starting to wake up. Guess what I found in my not infinite wisdom? That's perpetually happening, but nothing is changing, which means, the spell isn't broken then. Some people just wake up sometimes. So I appreciate that you waking up, and you can also recognize other people waking up. That is a very small amount of people, and they're always sectioned off into some small corner of some community, which is the problem. We need to attack the methodology. Well, we need to attack methods, not rhetoric.
That's a good
That's
point.
my opinion.
I agree with that, right? We need to let our principles shine through and break down the principles that are being upheld out there that are clearly wrong. Really comes down to that. And we're doing that.
But what you find is that people are not waking up. What you find is people are going from being ordinary and believing things to becoming conspiracy theorists. That's not waking up to the facts.
Right, that's just becoming enthralled with another story.
Yeah,
right?
it's just getting involved.
You use
in
it for escapism, not for building and learning.
Yes, exactly. You're using it as a form of entertainment and as a form of identity. Then you're not
on purpose.
You're not doing that in the real world.
Right, like Nathan's little image of that writer. What is his name again? Knowledge only becomes wisdom when applied. You can learn all these things, but if you're just keeping it a secret, if you're just being scared with it and you're trumping it up to amplify that threat so that you don't engage, then you're just engaging in escapism, and that's not productive.
You become a sour sponge, right? If you don't wring out a sponge, it starts to stink.
Yes, Neil. Yes.
Exactly. Got to wring it out. Start over. Throw the whole thing away. Get a new one.
Learn from what you learned and then make another plan. Build. You can do all kinds of things with what you learned. You can hybridize it. You can completely step away and create a polarized alternative. There's all kinds of things you can do, but you always got to keep on moving. Got to keep on building. If you're just going to hold on to this concept and be, oh, look at how scary this is, without a productive escape offering, then yeah, you're just spreading fear and you're just pacifying people. You're slowing them down because you are in the process of escapism and you're making that shine onto everybody. They're not going to learn about what you're teaching them about the material. They're just going to use it to be afraid.
Well, whatever it is,
you got to keep building.
Whatever it is that you're saying, if it's not applicable in the real world where you can actually show something, and back up your claim, then it's not going to be taken serious by the public. It's only ever going to be conspiracy. You could say the same thing, but not point any fingers, and then you're just pointing out that there is an issue. But if you start pointing fingers and you can't prove that, then you're at nothing. That's the difference. That's what cuts a lot of conspiracy theorists and keeps them away from this subject, and especially the section we're in, because it's like whatever we say, I can with absolute confidence stand in front of any amount of people, and I can support my claims. I can do that. I'm confident of that. I can be on television, on a radio show. I don't care where, in an auditorium. And any of us can do that.
Some awkwardness might shine through, but we will be able to hold our ground, right? We will not give in. We will not give them their way. We're very strict, as we were basically taught here by our own agreement. You got to keep
we're
strict.
We're not going to be making claims
without
verifying things.
And I feel like it's easier now than it was before.
What's easier?
Sorry.
What's easier?
What's easier?
Explaining and exposing the bull around us, and it's easy. When they say things like level doesn't bend or level bends, that doesn't bend. Level doesn't veer from horizontal. Level, create.
Yeah, but we have evidence. We have literally evidence that that's a load of rubbish. Not only does the whole world know it's a load of rubbish, but the bubble sextant proves it to be totally load of rubbish.
Well, level bends in their globe model. It just doesn't do that in the real world.
Well, it does. It does if you accept begging the question as a means
Yeah,
to
it's getting easier to show that.
think. Hello?
No, I mean, listen, I got a delay. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying what Arwin said, the reason that they do accept the reality. They just accept the begging the question on top of it. So long as they're okay with begging the question in their lives, they're quite okay with doing it for the globe.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's correct.
I've been calling it.
They know the reality. Then they engage in begging the question, and then they use it to forget about the reality. They literally use it to blank it out of their minds, so they can just enjoy the belief unabated. right?
I learned here that the argument, when you know them, are solid. And I learned around the place, around the channels, that maybe that's okay. Maybe, knowing that is okay. And that's been an okay feeling too.
I actually just wanted to say that. I wanted to say that it's a personal
Thanks.
journey for the last couple of years that I've been here. It's a personal journey. I mean, you can show people the truth, but if they're not ready for the truth, they won't accept it. So, and that's cool. I mean, I hear you guys, and I always go back to how Nathan used to speak to Spurs and calling Spurs like a flat Earth evangelist. And it was funny at the time, but it totally rings true now.
Right. Give it some time. The most important lessons we learn about how things really work are learned over time. You can't just expect to understand everything right away. You need some time to let it sink, right? And then if you actually have that patience with yourself to let it sink and not get caught up in something to ruin it, because that can happen, and you just let it sink, and then after a long time you really get it, and like that's a big plus. You really get it now, like what happened, why it happened, and where it's gonna go. And that's when you're on our level.
Who was talking about people coming to like truths? Like, was it you, Eli? Because I was going in and out. You were talking about JFK, the timing that people come to truth.
Yeah.
Well, look, even right now, I'm working in a warehouse. I'm looking at a guy. There's nobody near him for like 100 feet, and he's got a big thing across his face. I mean, people still don't come to the truth about that. That's right now, at this time.
Okay. Do you want to convert him? Do you want to tell him something?
Oh,
do you care? Why do you care?
Saying.
What'd you say, Neil? I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, some people will never. It's just whatever comes out of that telly, that is truth, and they will listen to that and their leaders, and that's it.
Yeah, that's true. That's unfortunately true. I mean, because once somebody you're gonna, that's the authority they've accepted faithfully, like, and again, faithfully. That's their authority. So yeah, they believe them. They believe it. That's what they're gonna do, and they're gonna go with their fallacious logic against their natural given ability to think correctly.
And they'll say that we're listening. They'll say that we listen to dumb YouTubers. Oh, yeah, where you getting your information from? Where you getting your truth from?
You know, that's an interesting thing you're saying, Neil, because I find with the ballers lately, what I see online in YouTube comments is they're going back to that. They're going back to this thing where all ye flat earthers, you all only get your information from YouTube, from stupid YouTubers. They're going back to that. They went away from that claim because we were showing how all their stuff was wrong, and we're showing all the support for it, and we're using hostile witnesses from their side.
Mute, please,
and now
Eli.
they're going back to
Eli.
that.
Yeah, Brian, I think you're right. But at the same time, the same people go to YouTube to figure out how to fix a carburetor.
That's true.
It's not that they're going back. You're seeing the natural process, because what they've done is preemptively strike, right? So they want people to see flat Earth through their eyes, and that's what they've done. So naturally, this is what you get. People who are back to YouTube, back to the old arguments. Why? Because they're not communicating with us. The only ones that are communicating with us are the ones here that we keep communicating to. Then the occasional new person comes in and we wonder, oh, why do they have 2015 arguments? Because that machine is still running. They've just isolated us.
Yep. But that's their discipline, right? Just keep repeating the same shit over and over again. Doesn't matter if it's disproven. It's part of the script. So they always fall back to it. Boats going over the horizon.
Well, celestial navigation proves boats are going past the optical viewable horizon.
They go into the horizon optically.
Into it.
They fold into it. That's really how I see the apparent horizon effect. It's like things just fall into it. It's really kind of magical, the experience. But that's how it works.
I don't know if it's magical. We experience it all the time when something's at a vanishing point, we can't see it. And then when we are in the car driving towards the destination, the thing we couldn't see 20 minutes ago, we see now.
Yeah, but that's our brains typically dealing with it when we don't observe it, right? We're used to it because it always happens. But when you actually start to figure out in your mind as you're looking at it, like, what is it that I'm looking at? That's pretty magical. Like, it's really just folded in. And when you approach the horizon, you never do literally, it unfolds in front of you. And when you look back, it folds into it. It's just, yeah, I find it astounding.
When I had my boat and it was foggy, I could only see a mile or two. Not real. I mean, I've been out where I can even see in front of the bow on a 30-foot boat. That's how bad it can get. But say I could see a mile or two. So I see the fog touching the ocean. That's about as far as I can see. So obviously I travel a mile and what I saw is behind me and I see a whole new fog touching the ocean in front of me. This is obvious what's going on here because the next morning there is no fog and you see further, but you can't see everything. It's a matter of your eyes and perspective.
I still think it's mind-blowing, even though I've learned all of it. But maybe that's because I believed in the globe so long, right? And then it becomes even more magical when you realize how it really works. So...
Oh, I wasn't talking about the globe. I was talking about how the eye works.
No, me too. It's just that believing in the globe for a long time does kind of change the way things look. Because you've got all these standard systems in your subconscious that are going to direct you as to how to approach something, right? That just takes place in you as a glober, if you really believe it. And yeah, if you've never had it, you wouldn't have those issues. Like, I think that Chocolate Saiyan is like the guy, as an example, that just, it never caught on to him. So he doesn't have that path within his subconscious. To him, it's like all clean. It's all clean, beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't have it either. I fought it. And the roots weren't deep. Hang on. The roots weren't deep. For you, the roots were deep.
Correct.
It all starts with the horizon. I remember years ago speaking to my barber. I'm talking 2016. And he was like, yeah, but what about the horizon? But we didn't have the arguments yet. But it all does start at the horizon.
Well, we did actually. We had that argument back in 2015, but it wasn't formulated correctly or taken serious enough. And that's why it took 5 years for it to be put out there correctly by QE. For 5 years it was there. I remember it. But people weren't focusing enough on it. It was so simple, people just couldn't accept the simplicity of it. Simple is the strongest, but people couldn't accept that.
Like they want to fix things within the presupposition. That's a typical habit of people. You want to just fix the obstacle, but by fixing it within the presupposition of the obstacle, you might overlook that can't fix it because you're within the presupposition.
Nobody fishing? Anybody go fishing in Discord? See if anybody want to come on and make a claim. Come on, I'm in the mood for a fight.
Shout out to the Dutch farmers. They're kicking ass.
There isn't much of a fight, Neil. They have to admit everything came off a flat Earth, so the debate is over now.
There's a YouTuber, Glober, called Tommy Grunfeld. Anthony would know who he is. He was around from a few years ago. He used to be on Ranties from time to time, doing presentations and arguing with Ranty. He doesn't understand anything other than very, very basic globe rhetoric. He's very sneaky, very underhanded, and not an honest guy at all, right? He was trying to claim optical drop was Earth curvature for several years, and even when he was showing optical drop, he just denied it, basically. I don't even think he ever even acknowledged it. You know, it was literally that bad. But him and others, as they tend to do, have been on Nathan's comments after the show. So after the live show, there's a load of comments. If you're looking at the live show later, there's loads of comments from people who watched it afterwards. And the likes of him are in there, and they're trying to make claims with flat earthers. So some of the people in there might be new to flat earth or whatever. And this guy says, trying to be a smart ass, he says, the angle goes from the sextant, which is at your eyes, to the horizon, and then up to the star. And that's it. Right? And he had this, I'm feeding back on someone there. He had this thing where he thought he was being smart with some flat earther that was in there. And he had this other guy, it was Mark C or Mark G or something, who was agreeing with him. And I just casually pointed out that he's just made, this is after 100 comments, I pointed out that he made an obtuse angle. And he spent 2 days he spent trying to deny it. That's what we're dealing with. This fella used to be on YouTube, used to be trying to be in people's faces and talking rubbish. Now he's just trolling on YouTube comments, being dishonest. And when it's pointed out to him that he's been an absolute fuckwit, he takes 2 days. He spent 2 days denying it and trying to ask, where is the obtuse? Where is the obtuse? Not understanding what he's after doing, or understanding it and not conceding it. And the only reason I'm even saying this is because I told him if he doesn't concede it, I'm going to make it public. So I'm making it public now.
So you're saying that the depression angle caused from the height of eye above sea level, he wouldn't consider that as obtuse?
He never did the height of eye correction. That's the point.
No, that's what I'm saying. So if you don't do the height of eye correction, then you have an angle between the eye line bubble, horizontal, and the horizon at sea, which is that creates a depression angle that you have to correct for in order to have a parallel.
Yeah, you can't
Well,
do it without 90.
Well, that's an obtuse angle right away, unless you're correct for it.
Yeah, if you're using the horizon, using the marine sextant, so that means you're making an obtuse angle. If you don't do the height of eye correction, then you have an angle that's greater than 90. You can't use it.
Correct.
100 comments, or maybe more than 100 comments. Him and this other guy whereas there was one, maybe two flat earthers. I think it was mainly one flat earther, or maybe there was a few flat earthers came in, but they were acting real confident. I was reading through these comments, and it's like I knew immediately the minute I read his first comment, I knew immediately what it was from the very, very start. And I went right down to over 100 comments, and they just put that in. 2 days he's actually after spending, not conceding. He made an obtuse angle because he's an idiot. And now he's too dishonest to admit that he was an idiot. That's what we have in our lives.
Yeah, but it's like, I'm glad you were able to call him out, but in real life, if I met a guy like that, I wouldn't deal with him anymore. I wouldn't care anymore. He just doesn't want to hear it. And if he's doing it on purpose and he's a liar, then I'll call him out whenever he's lying to someone, but move on to someone who's got ears to hear and eyes to see.
But that's what I was doing, because he was in Nathan's comments talking rubbish, and he also claimed in a different comment on the same video that the radius of the globe has been measured. And it was something that we brought up on the show before, that this guy had promoted. I got a hold of it, brought it up on the show before, and we showed how it was total and utter rubbish. The surveying thing that went on in somewhere in the Scandinavia region, it was total and utter rubbish.
Isn't it funny, whenever they say that, they only cite themselves, they never put up any publication, any valid source?
Well, this thing he's talking about is a valid source, but it's just a load of rubbish.
No, I'm not saying when they actually do put something and we read it and we see that it proves our point instead of theirs. I'm saying that many times they'll just say something, but it's their opinion, their belief. It's not anything they could give a valid source to. And then when they do, we say, well, put it in the chat. Let's see it. Let's read it. And then when we read it, it says what we're saying instead of what they say it's saying.
This thing that he was talking about, that was a measurement of a globe's radius, is the biggest begging the question fallacy ever. They done planar surveying and then added or and put a monument up somewhere in Scandinavia. I can't remember what part. Put a monument up and called it some kind of a globe radius measurement. It was the biggest heap of rubbish ever. We took it apart there before. But this guy, he's an example of who's in the comments in Nathan's, on the after show, in there, trying to find people who are easier targets, or people he might think are easier targets. Just basically spreading this information. Tommy Grunfold. Tommy Grunfold.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the guy used to be pushing himself out there like he knew something, and now he's kind of gone underground, and you don't hear much about him, and he's basically just a troll. But he didn't know he was after making an obtuse angle. That wasn't done on purpose. That was him being an idiot. And he spent 100 comments of a thread continuing to be an idiot, and he has to spend 2 days not admitting that he was an idiot. And I told him, I'm going to give your name, I'm going to make it public on Nathan's if you don't concede. He didn't concede.
Well, he didn't concede that when he drew out his 2 points, one to the horizon and one to the star, that he made an angle. Yeah, he did. Just in case he still hasn't. Yeah, he definitely made an angle.
Yeah, but an obtuse angle.
How can he deny it, though?
Yeah, regardless of obtuse, he can't do that on a sphere, can he? So, in terms of the context of the argument, he's made an angle, and the baseline was the ground.
Oh, dear.
No, if you read what he said, what he wrote, he's basically inadvertently, trying to send a line from the sextant to a geometric horizon. That's basically, if you read right now, he didn't write that in, so I can't put that on him. But the point is, I was putting him on the fact that he was trying to be a know-it-all, yet he didn't realise, because he's the usual globe know-it-all, right? He didn't realise that he had made an obtuse angle. And 2 days he spent not conceding. He didn't even understand what I was talking about at first. It's that type of thing I was pulling him on. It doesn't matter whether it doesn't work on a globe. The point is he's trying to be a know-it-all, and he's being a pretender clown. He didn't understand how the angle was obtuse. He didn't understand it.
Fair enough.
Someone on his side obviously put him correct at some point because I haven't heard from him.
Yeah, well, we saw this with all the anti-flat earthers who jumped on the sextant and tried to explain celestial navigation without doing the research. And they were making mistakes right from the get-go.
Well, they're all experts now, though, Tent.
Well,
all of them are experts now.
they're self-proclaimed experts, but it doesn't match what celestial navigation teaches, because that's their war is against celestial navigation, not Nathan Oakley's show or the panel. All we're doing is reading the books they have to read.
Well, I have one idiot at the moment who commented, I think it's on one of Nathan's videos as well, who's hiding behind acronyms. So he thinks like throwing out things like LHA, acronyms like that, local error angle, things like that. He thinks by throwing out these things, that makes him some kind of a knowledgeable guy.
Well, that's why I
asked him a simple question and he threw acronyms at me.
Well, that's why I stayed away from SHA, LHA, GHA. I can go on. I read that. I'm saying, okay, this is the process. Okay, but what is it that you have to do first? And what you got to do first is you got to get an elevation angle. Okay, what's required in an elevation angle to be pure and honest? Well, we use an angle measuring device called a sextant. Okay, so what's that? Well, I found out that's a glorified protractor. They even say it. Okay, what's next? Oh, an angle. Well, what's an angle? Well, specifically an elevation angle. You need a flat baseline for, hang on, you need a flat baseline for that. Can't work on a curved surface. Guess what they come back with? Sextant could only work on a curved surface. Wait a minute. We just broke down the sextant's an angle measuring device. It measures elevation angle that could only work with a baseline that's straight. And you come back and say it could only work on a curved surface? You're insane.
Just a wild shot. They don't have any framework to even present for that counter, right? It's just a pure shouting at you, hoping to outnoise you when they say
no,
that.
They do. They can still assert a tangent plane. that's their
No, but just
surface.
because they somehow figured a way to be able to do it, to say you can only do it on a globe, that's pure nonsense. Like
Yeah,
they
but
have no
hold on,
framework.
real quick, I have a recommendation for 10th Man, Brian, and whoever else wants to. Being that Quantum Racer did that rubber ducky. There's a movie called All Is Lost with Robert Redford, and he is actually on a raft using a sextant.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't need Robert Redford. They had to go
No,
to
I'm
the
saying,
books.
have you seen it since you have this knowledge? Maybe go back and look at it, and you might catch something.
What's the movie's name? What's it called?
All Is Lost.
Okay.
He doesn't even talk in the
What
in
year?
the movie.
What year?
I don't know, but it's not too far. It has maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
All right.
Yeah, but he's jotting stuff down and he's using his sextant. I'm just saying, maybe he might be able to glean something.
No, I saw it after the sextant study, so I know what you're
Oh, it
talking
has nothing?
about.
Okay.
Yeah, I already saw that movie. That's not the important thing. The important thing is to represent something as it truly works. And that's what we're doing when we cite credible, authentic celestial navigation books that they even agree with. Except when they go to cite it, they don't like what we're showing. And they say, well, how come it shows a sphere in the picture? I go, because it's doublespeak. Because they have to do that. Because they're trying to prove it mathematically that it can work on the ball. But the problem is you need a portable tangent plane every time you do it because your curved surface won't allow it.
Wait a second. It shows the sphere. It shows the globe but everything else says flat. Okay, that checks out.
The angle measurements can only work from a flat baseline. That's why they need a tangent plane in order to get the angle. They never actually use the curvature of the Earth to get the angle because it cannot.
By the way, Neil, it's from 2013.
Wow.
Thanks for the tip.
Computer crashed.
Really?
Whoa, I had a weird issue too. What's going on?
Is John still gonna have that debate with what's his face? Roofy?
Ah, good old Roofy.
We haven't heard the latest, but according to John, there is no debate.
Yeah, is he gonna have that get together with him, whatever you want to call it?
It's so over between the black swan and the sextant elevation angle argument. It's so over. Those two just doom in.
Hold on, what about that thing you had coming up? You said you had something. Are you still waiting?
Oh, you mean my surprise at the end? Yes, of course.
Come on, ballers, hurry up, catch up.
No, I've got other stuff I'll glean once my life settles down a bit. But there's so much because when I I packed my books already, so I can't have access to it. So I'm doing everything online now. But when I go to a topic that I did study and do a present on, then I dig a little deeper. Man, the things that revealed themselves are even better behind the original argument posed, that those things will be coming up. So it could take years and years before we even exhaust hardly 10, 20% of celestial navigation.
Globers got nowhere to go.
Well, they don't come here anymore.
Oh, why would that be?
Because Nathan's too mean to them. He uses his mute button. He doesn't give them a chance to explain anything. Haven't you read?
That's all they seem to be ending up talking about. You know? It's never about like what was actually said and the conclusions that were drawn. No, it has to be about, oh, Nathan's being mean. He mutes me. He demands I shut up, and then he talks to me in a humiliating fashion. And then I have to sit there and just not overtalk him? What is this? Yeah. It's called the Flat Earth Debate.
Yeah. The title pretty much says it. You came here to debate flat Earth. We didn't come here for chit chat. You carry on, I carry on. If you commit a fallacy, I'm going to stop the conversation, call you out on it. And when proven it's a fallacy, you need to concede before we move on. They sometimes forget about that protocol in the debate.
No, I liked the guy the other day when he said, how about you talk first for a while and then I'll talk, and I'm sitting in my car laughing because I know what's coming next.
Well,
okay.
that's talk. That's not debate.
No, that's not what Neil means. He means that the guy's used a fallacy I'm trying to point it out, and halfway through pointing it out, he's interrupting me. After about the third or fourth time of doing it and me not letting him, and me saying, no, I'm going to get to the end of this conclusion and describe your fallacy, detail how it's been used, at which point he's like, well, look, how about I talk for another couple of minutes and then you talk for a couple of minutes? It's like, what? So how about we whistle past this description of your fallacy use for you to launch into the same fallacy that I'm taking apart for a couple more minutes without me interrupting you to point out that it's fallacious. Let's just start with you using the fallacy again, but without me talking. That would be wonderful for you and your use of fallacy. That's what he's really saying.
Exactly.
Well, that's why when you watch courtroom dramas and courtroom type of shows, the attorney on either side could say objection, and then the judge says, what are you objecting to? And then he states it, he says, overruled or sustained. So in the same sense, the debate shows, okay, fallacy.
Yeah, that is what it is. At the point that they use a fallacy, no one's ever going to reasonably justify me stopping them. I'm not going to say, that was unreasonable, you stopping him when he used a fallacy. Really, you should have let him employ the fallacy and babble on for the next 5 minutes. Nobody reasonable will say that. Unreasonable people will say, you didn't let him finish. No, I didn't. No, the moment he used a fallacy, I pointed it out to him and wouldn't let him go any further.
I think he had a derogatory statement towards you and left. That was funny, though.
I say stop.
Right, but they
really
refuse to take the opportunity to actually learn from Nathan's invasive methods, which is his prerogative, and it works. He knows what he's doing. They don't use it and actually overcome the obstacle. No, then they just get more rowdy and they start rumpusing you and then then shutting up when they're supposed to be explaining things.
Right.
And then
they refuse to listen.
Complaining about being muted. It's always the same.
Right. No acknowledgement of the fallacy that's been taken apart with numerous interruptions from them. Instead, they'll project the interruption that I initially admittedly did do to point out their fallacy. And they'll focus on that indefinitely, rather than the point being made that there's a fallacy being committed. Half the time they just can't quite believe it's happened. They just cannot quite believe it because, do you know earlier when, I can't remember, I think it was Eli was describing them as big-headed glowbears. Right, was it? No, it was Brian saying they're big-headed and they automatically assume they're right. They're on the side of truth. We're idiots. The second somebody comes along and says, hello, just tap you on the shoulder for a second, excuse me, that's wrong. Here's how it's wrong. It's wrong because, and before you've got the next breath out, they'll start interrupting you, telling you that you're unreasonable, because they can't quite believe it's happened. Reasserting it, telling you that you don't understand it. Because you can't be pulling it apart as a flat earther just correcting me with logic. No, you just didn't understand. Because they retain that big-headed arrogance in the face of being corrected. They'll never back down. How could it possibly be the case that I'm wrong?
You know what I think is at the root cause of this behavior difference? They live in a world where everybody can just bluff all the way, and then if they get a consensus out of it, it's all right. But we, over at the Flat Earth Debates, and especially you, Nathan, we call bluffs all the time, mercilessly. And so that way of going about for them, that just doesn't work here, and they don't know what to do with it.
Right. They've got a half-assed understanding of their religion's belief that they don't know is a religion. That's what they've got, a half-assed understanding. But in their mind, because they've got a half-assed understanding, that's an exemplary understanding of something that's true without question. And only a tacit understanding is really necessary, although they don't believe they've got a tacit understanding. They think they've got an exemplary understanding. So then, the moment they have their ass handed to them, they can't quite believe it's happened. Because, as I say, they step in with them believing that they've got the truth on their side. And there's no way it could be undone.
Like, you're not supposed to be doing that, Nathan.
Exactly.
You're supposed to be in awe of their application of just weaving the weave, you know? And why are you, like, still wielding that sharp thing there right in front of them. Like they're like, what? That's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, typically they'd have bullshitted their way through it with somebody that didn't look at it even in a cursory glance. So they pass on their information that they've gathered at a cursory glance. And most people go, wow, really? For example, if you had some normie that wasn't me describing Thea smashing into the Earth as a fledgling planet, forming the moon with gravitational accretion, someone could rattle off that story, and the next man would go, wow, that's interesting, because they've not researched it, and they don't have any understanding of it other than what the person's just told them. So they just go, all right, that's interesting. Really? Whereas here, they come to tell us that they've got an exemplary understanding of how the world works. They give you a little story about how Thea smashed into Earth. You go, what actual evidence do you have that that even took place? Or that you've got an R value to base this story on? And they go, we know we're on a sphere. You go, so you're just begging the question then? No, we know. No, that is begging the question though. And you end up having to explain the bloody fallacy to them while they commit it again and again and again in the face of the explanation of how they're committing it.
Yeah, but Nathan, what you just described is pride.
Yeah, not being able to go, wow, I couldn't believe that, I was wrong. Yeah, they can't do that. That's pride.
But it's also the reliance on ignorance, right? The bluff, going about with the bluff, and we call the bluff. They relied on the ignorance, and we're not compatible with that. We're gonna call that bluff. So
yeah,
they're like,
Arvin,
what?
Yeah, but Arvin, ignorance, and when someone showing you why the thing that is not true you believed, and say, yeah, I never really studied it, but thanks for pointing that out. Oh, that's dumb. I can't even believe I believe that. Okay, that's one thing. There's no pride there.
Discipline. That takes discipline to even do that.
Let me finish. No, that takes a humble person to realize they've been stuck somewhere they shouldn't have been stuck, and it was pointed out by another human being, and they're humble enough to say thanks. These guys are not humble. It's all pride. Even with a losing argument, they won't change because they are just full of pride. They can't believe that they are wrong and you are right, and it blinds them.
It's more the first, it's the former.
Right, they think they're gods.
They can't believe that they were wrong. So just put that in present tense. They can't present tense believe that they're wrong in the moment. Therefore, you're wrong. You're their opponent, us. We're just wrong. We don't understand. Because they can't get past the first bit. Not, well, you can't be right. Because they don't even listen to our explanation. They're not listening when you put a claim to them or a rebuttal to them. They're simply not listening. Because they can't get past the, I can't possibly be wrong about this bit.
Well, an example like I gave earlier, it can be found any day in your comments, Nathan. I've kind of started going there because just to see these comments that are being made. People on the globe side who have only a very small amount of information about something, who have to beg the question, use fallacy, whichever, when it's pointed out to them, the majority of them I can't say all of them, but the majority of them never want to have a conversation about it or go, okay, I was wrong about that. I could say, like the likes of extremists, he's willing to have a conversation and go, okay, that's not correct. But it's very rare. Most of them won't. There was a guy on your comment yesterday, I can't remember the guy's name. He's into astronomy or whatever. And he has I think it's him, he's a photo of him as his thumbnail. And I'm feeding back there on someone. And he said that if the sun was moving over a flat earth, that it would be creating a sonic boom because of the speed it would have to move. Now, there's a load of pre-assumptions going on within there, right? But I just look past all the nonsense because there was a lot of people in there arguing with him saying, well, you're pre-assuming things about the sun, and you're pre-assuming what the sun is and blah, blah, blah. But for a start, I made 2 points to him, or 2 points. One is that it requires a certain density of air, a certain air pressure for that to happen. And two, if you look into sonic booms, they very rarely are heard when they happen above 35,000 feet, regardless of what creates them. Whether the sun can create a sonic boom or not, it doesn't matter because what happens is the warm air brings the sound up the way, so we don't get the sound on the surface of Earth. Like, so we'd hear the sonic boom from jet fighters or a Concorde because they're not flying high enough at the time. That's why we'd hear the sonic boom. But if the Concorde or jet fighters or whatever are up high, we won't hear the sonic boom normally. Anything of the sonic boom once you're above 35,000 feet. And that information came directly from NASA. And when I corrected this guy on this, right, I got no reply from him, but this other guy who was in there in the comments with him, being his best buddy, started saying, so what? So what? What does that mean? Does that mean you deserve a Nobel Prize? Now, I didn't even get smart about it. I just said, this is what happens when you don't, go get something before you ask a question. I got nothing. There's no concession, no anything. They just can't deal with it. That they made a stupid mistake based on what they pre-assumed would be real.
Yeah, I saw that comment. My immediate instinct I had to sort of suppress in that regard, because admittedly a few people have made comments on it. I did see it. And initially, should I correct all the presuppositions that he's projecting onto the flat earthers by stereotyping fallacy with what he says we say the sun should do, and the consequences of what he says we say the sun should do? If it did it, there'd be a sonic boom. Okay, let's just rewind a bit. He says that there would be a sonic boom if the sun is doing X, Y, and Z. That's how he phrased it. So I'm prepared to take it at face value and then reply based on what he's stating at face value. He is making the claim that the sun will make a sonic boom. Now, I realise that he's trying to position it as though we and our sun and what it would do would make a sonic boom, but that's a straw man. Nobody's claimed that. Therefore, the only claimant of that particular example is him. So I just pointed that out to him. How stupid are you to claim that the sun will create sonic booms? I haven't looked at the reply. I assume his response is, no, you're flat earth you haven't claimed, and I'm strawmanning you with a stereotyping fallacy would create a sonic boom. Right, Brian? But I'm tired of it. It's like, why am I going to unpick your stereotyping fallacy? To debunk the unpicked stereotyping fallacy I haven't claimed, to show it wouldn't work. I'm not knocking you for doing this, by the way, Brian. Good on you. When I can just say... When I can just point out that... Well, I don't even need to point that out, that I haven't made the claim. Someone's making it, and it ain't me. Well, who is? Well, he's the one voicing it, so it becomes his claim. So then they can get an all twist of, no, but this is your claim. All right, where did I claim it? I only see you claiming this, mate. Unless it's a straw man, which obviously it is.
How the hell is the sun going to create a sonic boom?
That's this moron who's supposing the flat earthers would suggest that that's the case based on their model they haven't claimed when he stereotypes them. Like I say, I understand how to read between the lines, but I'm not willing to do it when there's only one claimant, and it's him. And he's saying there'll be sonic booms from the sun. So I'll just unpick that, because that's the only person making that claim.
Yeah, but in the hold on, I want my moment here. Within the original heliocentric model, that's just impossible, because in between the sun and the Earth, there is a vacuum.
No, Owen.
Which is
Stop.
officially
Just stop a
vacuum,
second.
even though
Owen.
And
Owen.
air.
Owen. He's not talking about the heliocentric model. If you just stop for a second, he's strawmanning us with what he says a flat Earth will do.
What?
He's telling us what the flat Earth sun would do over a flat Earth that he says we claim, and the consequences of the flat Earth he says we claim being a sonic boom from the sun in the flat Earth model he says we claim. Now, because he's not
okay, I get it now.
Thank you, Arvin. Thank you. Yeah, because he's not explicitly stating his straw man overtly, I can just take the gaps in his statement to be his claim. Because he's not overtly stating enough to disclaim that he's actually making a straw man argument, because who'd want to do that? He's just left it to be implied. For someone to latch onto and defend the straw man he's built. Well, I saw straight through it and went, no, The only person claiming there's going to be sonic booms from the sun is you. What a stupid thing to claim. Now, if he wants to turn around after the fact and tell me, no, that would be your claim. No, it isn't. No, I haven't. The only one claiming that is you. Stupid idiot.
The sun would require to be a physical object, provably so, in order to even draw in the option of sonic boom potential.
Yeah, okay, I can take that as read also. I mean, Harwin's now dissecting the Strawman that he's laid down, though. So you're saying, with your physical assumption bias of a physical sun moving at a rate that changes and is more local on a flat Earth model you Strawman and stereotype me with, then your physical assumption bias is the only thing that gives it a motion to cause a sonic boom. Why are we into this Strawman that you haven't claimed? Whenever you claim the sun's physical and moving above a flat plane to cause sonic booms, never. He's the only one claiming it.
Yeah, my objective was to look past all the pre-assumptions, and strawman arguments he was throwing out, because there was other people arguing with him, kind of like Arwen just did. But my point was to point out, what I wanted to point out to anyone who reads this, is that this claim came from someone who did absolutely zero research on sonic booms. He just went, oh, that would make sonic boom. Did you do any research on sonic boom? No. And then, more importantly, when he's corrected on it, he doesn't come back and say, sorry, I was wrong about that. You're right, I didn't know that. He doesn't say anything. His friend comes in and attacks me, claiming I'm looking for some Nobel Prize. You know,
yeah. You show them to be wrong, and you get an ad hominem about it being about some personal attainment that you're trying to achieve. And it's like, no, this guy said something stupid. I've corrected it. And the response I get is, what, are you looking for a Nobel Prize? Why did he make the comment in the first place? Was he looking for a Nobel Prize with his stupidity that he asserted in my comment section? Are you focused on that? Or is it just that outright this guy's attacking flat earthers, therefore you agree with him, and when the flat earther shows him to be wrong, obviously the flat earther's just looking for a Nobel Prize? No, he's just showing you morons how stupid you are. That'd be Brian showing the globe believer who strawmanned us with a sun that's going to create sonic booms how stupid he is when he makes his claim that he didn't understand about how sonic booms would work, regardless of who's claiming the sun. In fact, actually him. He's the only one claiming it.
Yeah, actually, if I remember correctly from reading the comments this morning, I got the replies this morning. I had people coming in saying no, trying to disagree. The information I got came straight from NASA. It's NASA who wrote the article. NASA stated why.
The only thing I know about... Sorry. I just want to say the only thing I know about sonic booms is that the moment it was discovered was through man-made devices, technology going extremely fast, and then seeing this side effect of a sonic boom, right? So that, definitely implies very much physical material moving within space at this velocity, right?
Yeah,
so the sun has very little traces of these, physical proofs that it is a physical thing moving.
But Nathan's point is correct to see. I mean, Nathan, your point was 100% correct. It's like he's making this ridiculous, stupid claim, and once you engage with it at all, you have to engage with his straw man argument to do it. But I had come across this fella in recent times, and he wasn't able to concede on other things that was being pointed out to him was wrong. And I just wanted to point out that this guy was wrong. And I knew he was. I knew he didn't do anything other than make up a claim and not even research sonic booms in the process. Because, as you say, they just have tertiary knowledge that they think is an extensive knowledge on a subject. Because they're so used to bamboozling ordinary people.
It's back to Aaron's point. They're bullshitting their way through it, aren't they? They see a surface level amount of research, quick Google search on something they heard on telly, as being exemplary research, and then they'll go and parrot it thinking that they're doing really well, when really they're just bullshitting around their way something that they haven't got a real understanding about at all. And this is a perfect example of that.
Well, they're applying a good tool of understanding to a very incohesive oversight of how reality works, right? So they're just playing around, to us at least.
Maybe we can find out. I mean, I don't know if there's any ballers in the Discord server that can give us an answer as to why there's never a concession ever coming our way when they're proven to be wrong multiple times. I don't get it. Why never any concessions? Been, what, 3 in about 6 years on this show?
It's that pride. The pride really, like, I don't understand. Like, seriously, just admitting you're wrong within a specific contemporary situation and then figuring it out, like, the rewards are, like, great. Like, everybody respects somebody that can figure out their own mistakes and move on and actually get it and prove that they've overcome the mistake. Everybody respects that. So why don't they do it? Why can't they show any humility? Why do they think it's honorable never to admit a mistake? I don't get it too.
Humility and honorableness is to the wayside for maintaining your paradigm, and any admission is a removal of a card, and their whole thing is a house of cards. You take one out and it's going to come tumbling down. That's how we all see through it. Once you accept one of these things, you're likely to accept the next. Yeah. See, they can't accept any of them. They can't demonstrate humility because it would mean the end of their paradigm, wouldn't it?
But that's like a state of psychosis, right? That's it's terrible. That must be really like a nightmare. And then they pretend it's all great, right? Well, I know for a fact that crazy, overpowered politicians have that too.
They always act like
they're great. They always act like they're great, but they're actually really miserable inside and like panicked a lot.
Trying to run away from it. So I had Katz's name mentioned, who's
I always said really miserable, hard to deal with. That was an admission from Katz, wasn't it?
Yeah. Now he's trying to detach himself from this subject matter, move on to different subject matters. Yeah, it'll never go away. That's the problem. No matter how much you try and remove yourself from the subject matter and reinsert yourself into normie society, you've got the same problem as Cypher had. There's no going back. Now, for those people who have suppressed their understandings of how their globe Earth belief doesn't work, that's just psychologically painful, as Arwen's just described. Mentally suppressing that which you know to be incorrect, finding get-arounds and then finding that those get-arounds are immediately flawed. For Katz, you've got the elevation angle tied to him. So with the Blackpool Swan, he was comparing things with angular measurements, proving a flat Earth as he did so. Well, that was his last interjection into this discussion. Since then, he's given up both of his made-up by flat Earth means channels to 2 other anti-flat Earthers and moved on to other things. Well, it's not going to be in his past simply because he's trying to put it behind him. He knows what he knows. It is keeping him up at night, and his trying to move away from the subject matter and out of the flat Earth and anti-flat Earth pond won't alter what type of fish he now is.
Professor Dave has tried the same thing, hasn't he? I have a lot more respect for Katz than I do have for Professor Dave. But Professor Dave has tried to move on from this subject that he supposedly debunked. He's done that same thing. It's like, I'm gone past that kind of attitude. No, we're never going away. And history is never going away, Professor Dave. We're always going to be there to point out
don't be
all
so
your
sure.
fallacies.
You don't think that this entire subject could be memory hold? I'm pretty sure it could.
Yeah, but as long as we're alive,
He
Professor Dave is
could,
alive.
but that doesn't mean the world will.
Yeah, as long as we're alive and Professor Dave is alive, we always know.
Just from what I got from Charles, Flat Earth Math, right? He explained to me when I interviewed him, it's got to be 5 years ago, that he was like the only OG Flat Earther / anti-Flat Earther that was still around from the last uprising, if you want to call it, of this subject, which was in the late 80s and early 90s. And he explained that he'd gone through this exact process back then, just through different means because the internet wasn't so prevalent. I asked him if any of those people were still around that were predominantly on internet forums in the 90s, and he said no. Every last one of them's vanished. They've all disappeared. You're like, okay, so they've probably all got old, yeah, or older, and aren't doing it anymore. But there's now another wave of interest. Further to that, I've seen similar information presented from old newspaper cuttings of people putting up billboards in the 70s, right? And you can go back and back and back and see that there's waves of flat Earth uprising and then flat Earth suppression, and then flat Earth uprising and flat Earth suppression. It seems like a consistent cycle. So on the show today, someone was like, "We're winning." Well, we're winning in a battle that's been orchestrated to be in this little pond that I've described, conspiracy cats jumping out of. But once you're in the pond in the toxic water, that gets into your blood whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I understand that there's been waves of flat earthers in the past. And what Charles Flat Earth Math is talking about, what he's claiming, I don't know if it's true from the look of him, from his age, don't know if it's true what he's saying. But the main flat earther in the whole world back in the 90s was Charles K. Johnson. Into the very early 2000s. He died in 2001, I think. And he wasn't active after 1996 because his house got burned down, suspiciously, with all his stuff, all the things he did from the 70s through to the 90s.
Wow.
So I would call Flat Earth Math out on that. Because there was Flat Earth Society against Charles K. Johnson at the time, a guy called Leo Ferrari, who was Flat Earth Society. Now it was Charles Flat Earth Math debating with him, because he's Flat Earth Society, which is an upward moving disk at 9.8 M2 through heliocentric space. You know, who are these flat earthers you are supposedly debating if you were debating anyone? Because what I remember from Charles Flat Earth Math is he was talking to people back in 2013 or 14 in Flat Earth Society, in the Flat Earth Society forums or whatever. And he carried that through in 2014, 15 into what is Flat Earth now. But did any of these people in the past, now, I don't know what Charles K. Johnson knew or didn't know. I know that he basically was speaking very similar to us. But did he have the access to all the information we have? And did he get as in-depth with the arguments as much as we had? He done very well from what I heard, but he was totally suppressed by the mainstream. And there was supposedly, 1 second, Alan, very suspicious fire happened at his house, which meant that he had to spend, his wife was very sick, he had to spend the last few years looking after her, couldn't do what he did, all his stuff got burned, all his subscriber base got burned, everything destroyed. So,
right, which is a disaster because it's pre-internet, right? It's much harder to obtain all that information.
Yeah, it is. But now is a little bit different. I can give the exact maths and all the history of where their radius comes from. Who could do that before now? I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about I'm in the position to do that. Who could do that before now? Who could pull apart that model like us?
But I'm sure they would have been patting themselves in the back and saying the same things and telling themselves that they were winning also.
But we're not winning. We've won. The debate, but we haven't won in the world, out in the greater world. But we've won the debate.
Yeah, it's a start. At least we can debunk all aspects of heliocentrism and have a positive assertion of Earth being flat with a demonstrable methodology that's still utilised. That's a good position to be in. But for us, here now, or you if you're watching, because you've happened to stumble across this pond, but that's about it.
Yeah, I understand it's not good to be too overly optimistic because you end up being naive. But
I think so.
You can't be too well, you do. You end up being naive. You start being overly optimistic.
I agree.
But if you're not If you're not optimistic enough, then you're basically saying that it's over.
No, I'm optimistic on an individualistic level. So for each dude that comes, that can appreciate that he's not necessarily going to walk away becoming a flat Earth evangelist. He's not going to walk away with even the desire to convert anybody else to the information, but it might open up his worldview from his own very real perspective. And that's it. And that, to me, is enough benefit to sell. That's enough of a unique selling point for the show to exist at all. Now, that's not the only reason the show exists, but it's enough for it to exist because the dude that comes along or the girl that comes along and goes, wow. So at a base level, I've been lied to, and here's how, to the point that I understand it, recognise it as a lie, and recognise that it's still being told and taught. I wonder what else is... You can see where that folds out too, and that's beneficial. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand the flip side of that coin, that it's going to cause somebody that comes and finds the information detestable a massive headache, like conspiracy cats. You know, and that headache will still fester till the day they die, whether they like it or not. But, ultimately speaking, once you've got here, I feel that the benefit of finding it out on an individualistic level is worth it. But there's just majoritively, to stereotype flat earthers, they want to disseminate it to others in a way that I don't necessarily agree with. Like, they see it on a scale of winning globally, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not a global win. Pun intended. Not a global win, and I'm sure you meant the pun too.
I did, but what I'm saying is you want to influence the masses of the people who are on the Mercator projection. You're like, well, number one, why think so small? Number two, those people might be just lost souls, like the people in the Matrix that can't be converted back. And what benefit is there to you to converting them? For me, I make a show out of it. I've got all sorts of benefits that I can list off. But for other people who come along and watch it and just want to convert next man, it's like, truly, what benefit does that offer to you? Now, if they're a loved one and you want to offer them this gift, it might be rejected as not being a gift. So again, you've got to consider these things quite carefully. But if you're in the same boat as me right now and are going, wow, I've got a much more different, a much broader view on the world since finding this information out, then that is beneficial to you during the time that you're here. As long as you don't get grandiose delusions and start going out and wanting to preach it to the masses in a way that you feel that might actually change the Western world away from the Masonic, Roman Catholic Church way of keeping you under control if you want to stay in their system.
Shout out to Nathan Thompson.
Why? I mean, yeah, shout out to Nathan Thompson, but why?
Just because it seems appropriate or inappropriate, as the case may be.
Why? I don't follow.
Well, if you say what you just said again and apply it to Nathan, he does exactly that. He goes out preaching it to the masses in a way that he feels might convert whatever. He's very unique in his approach.
Yeah, I can't knock the guy because that's down to pure optimism and enthusiasm, isn't it? So it's hard to knock the guy on that score. I'm just saying that isn't how I view these things. I've got a much more subdued attitude to that. I have.
Just going back to your question before, do you think that we're winning? I don't think that we're winning on YouTube. I think YouTube have kettled us into a very little corner, like you say. And I don't think this platform's any good for this topic. But I think that what we do is it's kind of like the butterfly effect. Because like someone was saying before that they saw an advert for this show on, was it Instagram or TikTok? Well, we're kind of teaching people the basics on how to question the narrative, and it spreads, and that's quite useful because it means that we don't have to do too much work, and it goes from here. But the problem is, if we consider the show as a Ferrari and we consider YouTube the garage, how does anybody know you've got a Ferrari if it's parked in the garage all the time, like YouTube do? They park us in the garage so that the Ferrari cannot be seen by the public as they walk past, right? Just
Yes,
got to find a
good
way
analogy.
to get out
Yeah,
there.
good analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're sorry.
Oh, hold on. Go ahead, Dom. or whatever your name is. Dromda.
I don't think it was him. I think it was me. I think you might need to look into like ways to cross pollinate.
Oh yeah, how's it going? Sorry, I'm mute.
All right. Did you have something you wanted to add though?
No, just jumping in. Sorry, I haven't really been following the conversation. So
hold on. Only one Irish. Getting there, fuck.
This pub isn't big enough for the two of us.
I'm only joking.
I think there's 3 or 4 of us now.
What? What's going on? They're invading.
Potato! Who watches The Chase?
Yeah.
Anybody watch The Chase?
Hold on. Good new guest that's just introduced himself. He might actually have something he wanted to ask. And now he's got his opportunity. Or not. Or not.
I don't know.
Go ahead, Anthony.
I fully agree with most of your points. To be honest, I fully agree with most of your points. Like it just, yeah.
Go ahead, Anthony.
I was just saying.
There you go.
On The Chase, at the end, right at the very end, you've often got Bradley Walsh just randomly saying the word potato, and every time I hear an Irish guy now, all I can hear is Bradley Walsh in the background going potato because I've had him yesterday.
You know
That's
your
awful.
name is Riley, yeah?
Aye.
So he's talking about you as well.
Aye, he is. All my family are all from Ireland.
God, do you think you know someone?
I reckon I could count
Those
as another
damn
Irishman on the team.
Spriggans.
Sorry, the foreigner said something. What was that, Owen?
I said the damn Spriggans.
We don't speak
I
foreign
think
here.
I could count as
That's
another
Scottish,
Irishman on the team, Nathan, you know.
Scottish?
Irishman.
We're at cross purposes here really badly here. This is not working.
Yeah, it is.
It's all just one blend to me, you know. No, not really.
That's whiskey. You're thinking of Scotland.
What? Whiskey? What's the correlation between whiskey and Spriggans?
Blend.
I don't know. Just to get us back on track, right? I think what's happening here is a collection of knowledge and how to relay it when the time is necessary. So when anyone who's listening to this show or partook in this show at any point in the future meets somebody who may even be a PhD or something who says X, Y, or Z is true. If it isn't true, there's a very good likelihood that someone who's listened or partook in this show will be able to go to that person publicly and state publicly that's incorrect and be able to state all the steps as to why it's incorrect. And that was the power, because we're not going to gain power on YouTube.
With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.